Hello. Yes, but I can't make it late now starting. Man, to the late. नहीं वो स्टार्ट किया उस पे लिख दूंगा मैं
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome for today's session. When will polity class start? Well, आज तो last कर लो बिसाली. Today is the last session, so let us finish this one and then wonder about the other sessions. Right? Hi, good evening, everyone. So we are going to like reflect upon. Yes, today I'm looking like a jadoo, just like morning, because I told you morning till evening, it's back to back sessions, so I don't get an opportunity to change. So, with respect to this, same here, happy to see you as well. Thank you for waiting. Actually, the previous session stretched today, and as I was rushing, got stuck in a jam. There was a PM's movement, some VIP movement, so they held us at the traffic light. So, yeah. Thank you for your patience. So, in the previous session, we were discussing about national interest and all that. And then finally, information sharing, when I came to that, I was made to realize by all of you that it had been taught in governance, RTI and citizens charter and all that, right? So yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Nirmala. I will. So when we were discussing about that given segment, we would be reflecting upon something. So did you go through citizens charter and RTI, all of you, all the areas that I had marked and I had shown? My head will be visible, my hands will be visible, and I think that's sufficient to teach, right? Head and hands, yo. So with respect to this, I mean, like, I forgot that I didn't have to wear green. Actually, there is green room, no, in which we teach. So because of the green room, the green kurta, green everything has merged, and that's why the interesting possibility of looking like a jadoo, right? And it's okay once in a while, like, this kind of experimentation is also fair. I mean, ethics is a subtle subject. The person teaching you is also subtly visible now. So your eyes will adjust, don't worry. Okay, all right, it appears appears like that. So with respect to this, uh, let us reflect upon the given subsegments. So national interest and all this I had explained to all of you. So when we are moving ahead with respect to the given subsegments, I asked all of you to go through RTI and citizens charter. Did you go through it? Did you go through the components of RTI and Citizens Charter? Any questions associated with this RTI and Citizens Charter? People, Citizens Charter, I showed you the notes, I explained like what is it all associated with it. Yeah, okay. All those students who are getting appalled joining the session late and seeing my head and thinking, oh my god, what went wrong? Everything is fine. Okay, so just interact with the head. Anyway, what will you do? Like anything beyond discussing the content, if you are able to see me marginally, I think that is like fine enough. So mm, so we are stepping into the component of probity, right? So as we are stepping into the component of probity, so why is amendment made RTI weaker? Why will any we can say political or institutional body let a check be imposed on it? No one likes to like any check getting imposed upon them. Authority is hindered, so the smart way is that why idealism is unethical at regional and international level. Who said that, Abhishek, that idealism is unethical? I mean, I never made that statement, nor it was mentioned in the notes, right? Manmohan, the video is properly working. Don't worry. All those students who are joining in and seeing only my head, please don't get appalled. This is just a magic experiment we are doing. All right. So you have to be participants of the magic experiment, seeing the teacher and feeling that I'm able to connect. All right. So with respect to this, when we are talking about this component associated with it, yes, I'm asking Abhishek this question, like, from where did you get this idea that it is like idealism is unethical? Idealism is too ethical. And too much of ethics may sometimes not be fair. It may not be good. It may not be conducive for the functioning of a nation or functioning of a region. Because if you are working on too much of idealism and someone else is working on, like, let us say, realism, means military power, then it will be a contrasting possibility whereby the other one can pin down your authority, threaten your security. So the idea of national interest gets confused. All right. Yes, extreme of anything is vice. So you cannot call it like unethical. Okay, it is not unethical. It's just that too much of idealism is not always suitable to every situation, right? That's what we consider it to be. Now, I've seen Citizens Charter of Union Bank of India. Their charter's word are so minimized that even healthy I cannot see. So true, Abhinav. That's the fun part. They will keep Citizens Charter at some back end alley, or sometimes they will place it on some part whereby tube light is not functioning, or sometimes Citizens Charter will be there and the metal like sheet will get corroded, or it will, like, not be painted in a proper manner. So some or the other thing will be there, because of which sometimes the efficacy of Citizens Charter gets affected. Even the universal approach, yesterday we were discussing that having a universal pattern, the language which is not suitable to the local interpretation and understanding. So people are struggling to understand what does the Citizens Charter communicate to say. So that's there. Mhm. All right. Now, there are not legal right, ma'am. What is not legal right? So, the recent Digital Personal Data Protection Bill is a serious cause of concern against RTI. True, true. That's there. Um, Seema Heather against national interest. Yes, you can consider that. So, but like, we yet need to find proofs. So the event that happened in Manipur is hurting. Oh yes, that hurt the moral conscience, that hurt the moral conscience of a country. So remember that topic that was asked few years back, 2020 means, that was associated with patriarchy is the least noticed yet the most significant structure of social inequality. So whenever there is an ethnic fight, caste based fight, class based fight, religion fight, any kind of fight that's happening, it in the end of the day it is women who get targeted, gender which gets hyphenated. So it was something which hurt the moral conscience. In Northeast in general, I'm telling you, in general, gender equality is better than other parts of India. Security and safety of women is relatively better than other parts of India. But I would say this thing, like, one of the safest places which I have been is Odisha. Very safe, very safe. It is voted as, Bhubaneswar is voted as the safest city in India. In general, in southern parts of India also, I have experienced great levels of safety, like Pune. I have been to Chennai, I have been to, like, Mumbai. Relatively safe. At 2 o'clock also, 2 a.m, I've seen women having, like chaat and samose at chopati, and wearing burqa, and I was like, wow. I mean, that is possible. In Pune, I remember women returning from weddings loaded with gold jewelry and walking down, like 3 4 women without any fear of getting robbed. And that was, like, again, it came as a surprise. Like, you cannot imagine that happening in UP. So I mean, you cannot imagine that happening in Delhi. So when we speak of it, different parts of India have different truths and reality. What happened in Manipur was something very sorry, and it is hyphenating the possibility of greater clash and conflict, because the issue of self-respect, security will also get added, in the dimension of this ethnic clash, because it will be now a matter of not just identity conflict, but also the self respect of a community, that this is how our women have been abused. And it is also going to further increase the possibility of such incidents whereby women can be targeted, like predatory tendencies can be there towards women. And this is something which is raking the conscience, because, if you speak of it, it was not one or two individuals, it was a group, almost 40 50 men walking down. So that talks about the possibility, how come this level of desensitization is happening, and does globalization have to do anything with this desensitization? Overexposure to media, overexposure to porn sites, does that have to do with the possibility of desensitization of individuals? I mean, youth which is not getting educated, youth which is not healthily monitored with respect to how entertainment ought to be used, because the act is the final act. In between, a lot of things must have happened which must have led to the act. So you can think about what society is creating, how the conscience is getting built, what people are getting socialized with. Okay, what is the temperament that they are building upon? And that is how you can understand that all this given segment is leading to the final culmination of the act. So if a society is still in a feudal tendency, still in an uncivilized mode, still in the mode whereby muscle power rules over like mental assertion, in such a situation, anyone who will own, like we can say, aggression and power, like it can be arms and ammunition, it can be associated with we can say physical strength. So anyone owning any kind of assertion will have a tendency to exploit. Exploitation not only comes with power, it comes with the desire to exploit, the tendency to exploit. So how come that desire or tendency is coming into action, and what are the bodies, institutions which are playing a role in such a situation? Okay, so that has to be understood. uh, you are not aware of Thangjan Manorma. Thangjan Manorma was a lady, 2000, I think 6 or 7, way back. Like I remember, I was at that time I was at law faculty when a exhibition was held at Delhi University by students from Northeast. So that was in which one of the images were associated with the brutal assassination of localites by paramilitary and armed forces personnel. And in this case of Thangjam Manorma came into existence, whereby this girl was brutally molested, and after getting molested, gun you can see pellets were shot in her private parts, so that after doing the you can say all kinds of tests, performing all kinds of tests, no one can prove that who was the person responsible for the act. So that is something which is there. So Sridevi, read the book as well, so you can understand this given possibility, that it's not that for the first time such kind of brutality has happened. And after Tanja Manorma's killing, just imagine brutally raping a woman by the paramilitary and all, and after that shooting her in her private parts, so that there is no proof left. That was also something which wrecked the conscience of the country. Many people said it's a fabricated case. Many people said different kinds of things, that some people even questioned the character of that poor girl. A lot of things happened. Anyway, the mothers were so like shocked, the local women were so shocked, that there was a nude parade that was taken by women, and that also was covered in the newspaper. They said that if media covers nudity and that is what catches attention of the nation, then we are ready to take off our clothes for the sake of safety of our girls, safety of our sons, safety for their life, safety for their well-being. So you can cross check all that news. Maybe all that is not studied, that is not followed, that is not a part of the mainstream conversation. That's why you all are not aware of it. So you are seeing the incident in isolation. Now, anyway, let's proceed further ahead. You wanted my two bits on the issue, that how I see the situation. I see it in the wholesome phenomena, how things have evolved and articulated. How Northeast was in 1980s, 1990s, and how the youth is now again, it is also getting affected. It is also getting mobilized, and how the component is also associated with social media, how it is also associated with patterns of socialization at local level, role of family, the idea towards crime, the idea towards deviance, the tendency to go scot free, not getting caught. A lot of things you need to connect. Anyway, so um, with respect to this, as we are further moving ahead, let us see this given dimension. Um, with respect to this, I'm reading all your questions. I think SME you can now support, because I have given the core essence of what ought to be there. One more interesting thing, like I was about to, like, just share something jokingly, but now the mood has completely changed, so I cannot like go ahead with this. So I'm just giving it as a plain information. Today, after teaching all the subtopics, what happened that a student in the morning batch said that probity has yet not been taught. So I was like, huh? Probity has not been taught. Does the child even know the syllabus? So all those students who are not aware of the syllabus, for those students, it is important to bring this thing to your notice, that what the syllabus is. And if you like, reflect upon the syllabus, you will realize that the dimension associated with probity in governance is associated with code of ethics, code of conduct, international funding, it is associated with like information sharing, as RTI and citizens charter was like shown to all of you, right? So that is something which is like encouraged to all of you to reflect upon. So when we are discussing these topics, just simply making you aware of this fact, that this topic of code of ethics and code of conduct is associated with probity in governance. So I have given you the soft copy material of this ethics in public administration. So please go through that notes, that is related to the previous chapter, and probity in governance, that notes has also been uploaded. Please go through that as well. Okay. So probity is associated with highest form of integrity or honesty, Anjali. Okay. So when we are talking about at least reading the syllabus will give us self cover in the majority of the syllabus. So true. If you are very thorough, you will be able to understand which topic is what and how to build upon it. Okay. So with respect to this, the component of information sharing, that is RTI and citizens charter, then there is this code of ethics and code of conduct, then the component of work culture. So we will be reflecting upon all of it, and the details. Remember, the details I have created even in the form of notes. Okay. So please go through the notes as well. The notes are simple and they are created as per your suitability. It will act as a bridging gap between your sense of understanding, which is in consonance with the lecture, and you can connect it with Subba Rao later. So first finish this level and then connect with that, and be very thorough. Revision is the key. Always remember, revision is the key. Now, so code of ethics and code of conduct, when we are starting with this given sub dimension, so you need to understand this basic diagram when we are speaking of it. This, that laws, conscience, and ethics. And when I say ethics, so code of ethics and code of conduct is like together facilitating the running of the administration. So with respect to laws, regulations, we did it yesterday, if you remember, towards the beginning. Conscience, again, we have done it yesterday. This is something which we will be doing today, this aspect. Okay. So code of ethics and code of conduct, as we are going to understand this given dimension, please understand that for running any administration, the combination of these three is essential. Okay. So when we are talking about this given sub segment pertaining to how the phenomena is unfolding, I have given you some core words related to code of ethics. Code of ethics, as all of you know, it is set of principles. You can see that set of principles. So if you remember ethics, ethics was what? It was again a set of ideals which is giving us a sense of right and wrong, what is right and what is wrong. Okay. So in the similar manner, when we are saying code, so this code will create a set. Okay. It will encode it, it will codify it, it will create it in an enlisted pattern. So a set of principles which influence judgment. You can also connect it with, it describes the core values of the organization that guides decision making. Okay. So core values, set of principles influencing judgment. Again, no action prescribed for its violation. There is no action which is associated with violation. So with respect to that, again, we can say, yes, Atharv, I apologize for that. You can just like do away with it. Typing error, once in a while, the typist, when is like making the slides, can go little this. It is expected that we are looking into it and cross checking it. And once in a while, such slip shots may occur. So I apologize for that. Again, so we can include like values, civil services values, if you remember, civil services values that were taught, like honesty, political neutrality, impartiality, all this can be associated with code of ethics. Code of conduct is what? How you enact your behavior, your action, that is something associated with code of conduct. So code of conduct is what? It is a set of guidelines, a set of guidelines that influences employees actions. Okay, and it is like associated with what? The organization determines what are the do's, what are the don'ts to govern the actions of a person. So like, let us say if a person is violating these provisions, then action can be taken. But if code of ethics is getting violated, there is no action. Okay, it is expected, it is expected that you will be behaving, so no action, you can see this, no action prescribed for its violation, whereas here there is action when it is getting violated, because code of ethics is expectation, tentative ideals, tentative expectations that ought to be followed. Code of conduct is distinct, it's clear, it's set of instruction, do this, do that, you don't do it, you will be punished, simple. So that's what you can connect with when we are reflecting upon the same, right? Again, as you are understanding this, when we are talking about code of conduct, it is associated with provisions like not accepting a gift from a person with whom the organization does business, because that will get into favorism, that will get into bribery or corruption, right? And not joining a political party. So all these are examples associated with code of conduct, that what are the do's and don'ts that you are supposed to follow in the services. With respect to this, we can understand the we can say difference between code of ethics and code of conduct. Probably even before that, I would like to hyphenate the utility or significance or importance of, like, let's say, code of ethics and code of conduct. I would like to discuss that specific aspect first, and then go ahead with the difference between the two. Okay, so in fact there is something which has been enlisted over here. So just a second, just showing it to you, because I've left a slide related to it. लगता है जल्दी भगा दिया, wait. Yeah, utility, significance and importance of code of conduct. This is something which will get connected to code of ethics also, because code of conduct is manifested, or it is the behavioral aspect of code of ethics. So code of ethics will impact code of conduct. So what I'm going to discuss now is something which you are going to connect with. So first and foremost, just a second, did I skip? Yeah, I did skip. Wait, I'll add a slide here. Okay. So with respect to this, when we are discussing about it, we all can reflect upon first and foremost the utility, so that you get an overview. So utility, or we can say significance, or we can say significance, man. So significance or importance. What is the utility, significance or importance of code of ethics? Okay, so for example, you can see that whenever a person is getting elected or selected, like whether you are getting selected as an IS officer, you are selected as a medical officer, you are selected as a lawyer, whatever, like whenever you are holding a public position or formal position, you have to take oath. And oath gets associated with this code of ethics. Code of ethics associated with any profession. Even when you are elected as a politician, then also you can see there is oath that is taken, and that oath can be connected with the code of ethics of the position that you hold. Okay, so what role does ethics play? So when we are discussing about what role does ethics play, if this question is raised before all of you, then this is something which you are going to talk about. You can understand that ethics is like the spirit of law. It is the spirit of law that you implement, that you create, that you amend. So code of ethics, it is something which is giving us information regarding what kind of behavior would be expected from an individual, right? So first and foremost, we can talk about it functions as a it functions as a professional statement, as a professional statement, and has both cognitive aspect also. Yes, Anjali, that it is it is associated with the ethics acts as a benchmark. So that's correctly like pointed. So it is acting as a cognitive, we can consider. So cognitive, you remember cognitive, affective, behavioral. So cognitive is beliefs, the thought process. Okay. So it has both cognitive and emotive, yeah, affective value. Emotive, that is affective value. It has both. And you need to understand that for a civil servant, this code of ethics quantifies as code of conduct. For civil servants, it quantifies, means it takes the shape of, it gains a formal body. Okay, so it quantifies as code of conduct. Again, with respect to this, you can understand that when we are talking about emotive aspect, the affective aspect and the cognitive aspect, so both are associated with, like we can say, the code of ethics. That's why you see when students get selected and they go to Labasna, so there you can see that individuals, you'll be like seeing this given possibility that individuals, when they are like standing besides the wall, it's written Sheelam Param Bhushanam. That's one of the favorite places where students, after getting selected, they love to get clicked, right? You must be seeing that possibility. So when we are discussing about this given dimension, and that's why if you don't get selected, you don't get to get clicked there. Even if you are going to Masuri, you cannot enter Labasna. You can get that picture done only when you have entered the premises. Okay. So Sheelam Param Bhushanam is what? Sheelam Param Bhushanam, when we say that, it means character is the highest virtue. Very good. Sahil, Montu, Rashmi, all of you know the translation. So if character is the highest virtue, so character is the highest virtue. It is associated with our belief system. It is associated with the facts of the case, because it can be proved when a person is slipping from the character, when the behavior is getting corruptible, and it is also having an affective value, whereby certain emotions are also attached, certain interpretations are also attached. All right. So that's something which you need to understand, that like for example, in army, code of ethics will be what? Having a deep sense of respect and patriotism towards the country, right? A deep sense of connect to the concerns of the country. So for every profession there will be this code of ethics. Next dimension which you can think is, it helps professionals to make correct decisions, make correct decisions, identify between right and wrong, identify between right and wrong. And when you can identify between right and wrong, that will lead to effective decision making, right? Again, you can connect it with, it brings consistency, it brings consistency and responsibility in the behavior, in the behavior of an employee, in the behavior of an employee. You can also connect it with, we can say, it helps civil servants to do the right thing in the right way, right thing in the right way. Now it might sound like a similar point, but here what I imply to say is that there is an integration between ends and means. So means, ends, integration. Means is deontological, ends is teleological. Okay. So means, ends, integration can happen if you are understanding the code of ethics. All right. Again, you can also connect it with the segment of, it helps. Yes, you can connect Satyamev Jayate also. In the court of law, Satyamev Jayate is the code of ethics. That's correct. And I appreciate the example. So it helps civil servants. अरे यार बोल ही दिया है. So it helps in controlling. Wait. It helps in controlling the menace of corruption. The menace of corruption, right? Corruption, favoritism. You can also connect it that it brings flexibility because you have either to do this or to do that. So that kind of thought is developed. So it brings flexibility. It brings flexibility in the working of public servants. In the working of public servants. So flexibility will create what? Flexibility will create discretion. So discretion to do what is the right thing in the given situation. So discretion to decide, because I told you complete objectivity cannot be followed in complex situations. I gave you the example also COVID. I gave you the example of 2611 attack, if you can recall all that in the topic of objectivity, that the more senior you get, the higher the possibility of not exercising objectivity at all times. So then what will guide you? Code of ethics. Code of ethics will guide you that in the larger public good, what are the ethos that needs to be followed and how to achieve it. Okay. So discretion to decide what works in public interest. What works in public interest. Right. So like suppose you are getting gifts, so should you accept it or not? So you will decide. Suppose you are getting shawl out of honorarium, so you can, as an honorarium, you can accept it. Or maybe you are getting flowers, okay, a bunch of flowers, so you can accept it. But you cannot accept material gifts, gifts which are having high monetary value. And with material gifts, oh my god, you cannot even imagine the level of corruption, seething level of corruption that is there. One of my students, but way back when I was also a very young teacher, so I'm talking about something around 2013 or so. So he got selected, and Satya Prakash, and when he got selected, he got into this issue related to this corporate affairs. So what happened was that after his training, before getting posted, so he wanted to go to Goa with few of his friends. So one of his senior was posted in Mumbai. So he requested him. So that fellow, he was like, oh, that's just like so easy. He called up one of the five-star hotels, said that my juniors are coming. They are also officers. So please prepare the suit for them. So they went, they stayed in the suit for free for like a week. They chilled, they had some good time, fun party. They came back. Okay. When they came back to Mumbai, that was the Diwali time. So he was like, ma'am, you just can't believe the kind of the luxury that like this senior is exposed to. I said, I saw that there are so many boxes of sweets that he has got. So like, sir, you have received so many boxes of sweet. You are so lucky. I mean, so much of sweets that you have for Diwali. He's like, oh, this is not the real sweet. The real sweet is inside. So he was like, he opened, he saw Kaju Katli. He was like, this is sweets only, sir. No, no, no. You remove the layer of sweets. Once you remove, there is the carton, like the shiny pack that you can see. It's like lift that. So when that was lifted, he's like from like some packet Rolex watch was coming out, from some packet some diamond like set is coming out. So some or the other thing was coming out from the sweet boxes. So are you understanding the nature of corruption? It is so hard hitting, and like there the actual test of, like you can say, the actual test of conscience is put, and that is the time when you can see that how people are like behaving and how they are responding to those stresses, those challenges. Okay. So a lot of different ways and possibilities, and that's why keeping your personality intact is something which is essential. So the way you are nourishing yourself now, the way you have been nourished in the past, and in the process of studying this paper, the way you will keep thinking and developing your conscience, that is something which is going to play the most important role in terms of the impact that would be created, the impact that would be generated in terms of, like the marks that you will get. So that's something that you need to understand. So yes, income tax raid can happen, but do you only have to get scared of income tax raid? I mean, how many officers are actually getting held by income tax raid? I mean, barely, like I would say 10% or 20% of them. Not everyone is coming under the scanner also. but it's not that everyone is scot free. I won't take the friend's name, but one of my friends' parents, they were in police services and not even senior level IPS or something, not even that, rising from sub inspector to further. Okay, and both of them, I mean, just imagine, they had like huge palatial house, and they had a lot of flats in the one of the state capitals. And not just that, they had like huge farmhouse. In the farmhouse there was a swimming pool. I mean, the amount of land and the amount of prosperity and the amount of, like, resources that they generated, it came as a shock to me. I was like, imagine, with this kind of salary, how is that possible? So a lot of things are there which you will be surprised if you actually look into it. Anyway, so you can further say that code of ethics helps in making decisions in unforeseen situations. Okay, in unforeseen situations. So that's also there. Then you can also say that they have positive impact on the attitude of a civil servant. You also think of they help in resolving ethical dilemmas. For example, you have an idea that how and what kind of gifts you need to take and how you need to refrain from taking specific types of gifts, right? So that's something which you can connect with. Again, as we are discussing about this given subsegment, and when we have to discuss about difference between code of ethics and code of conduct, then probably you can understand it from this specific example. Like, let us say, if I'm talking about code of ethics and code of conduct, you can divide it into three types. So first you can think of specific behavior. So this specific behavior is associated with code of conduct. Then you can see values is at the top. Values are inspiring the principles, and these values and principles are associated with code of ethics. Now, how to differentiate between values and principles? You might feel that, right? So, let me give an example. So, for example, let us consider, you can consider that justice is the value. Then, like, let us say equal treatment in equal circumstances is the code of ethics. And separate line, or separate queue, I should say, would be a better word. So separate queue for the senior citizens is the code of conduct, how you enact upon it. So enactment, this is code of conduct. This is, like, we can consider the principle. So value, principle, code of conduct, right? You can see this, and I hope you are able to understand this. This helps to enhance someone's personality. Yes, definitely. All right. So now, with respect to this, you can also take one more example. Like, let's say, for example, if I say integrity. So integrity as the value, then giving priority to public interest. So giving priority to public interest will be your principle, and specific behavior will be not taking gifts. So not taking gifts is code of conduct. Is that getting clear, everyone? I hope you are understanding this. Code of conduct, code of ethics. Code of ethics is incorporated, or it is incorporating two subsegments: values, principles. It's very simple, very simple. These are such simple concepts and so very relatable to your life. See, I don't know about dry science. Like, science is also very important because it has shaped all forms of advancement associated with what is happening around us. But when we talk of philosophy, it makes a human being humane enough. And that's why it's very important for all of us to be connected to these principles. All right. So, pertaining to this, when we are discussing about it and when we are understanding this given subsegment, so with respect to this, when we are understanding that code of ethics is a guide and it is associated with the ethically designed behavior, it is helping the professionals to determine what kind of act they should carry forward. Okay, it is also laying down the way in which documents are developed, the way, like, action is taken. So we can definitely connect it with that given sub dimension, right? You can also understand that when we are discussing about code of ethics and code of conduct, there are certain specific dimensions which you can understand. So code of ethics is the mission and values of an organization, right? You can also consider that ethical principles are based on the core values. And what are the core values? So we can consider the standards, the standards to which, to nahi, I think it should be with, the standards with which the professionals will be held accountable. uh, with is also not making that great sense. On the basis of, let me write down, that will be clear. On the basis of, yeah, the standards on the basis of which professionals, after integrity, where is integrity written? Giving, oh, anytime I like make a ghasita handwriting, I should be careful. It's not that I can't write clearly, it's just that when I'm running fast, then at that time I have a tendency to lose the cursiveness. I just have a tendency to like just drag. So yeah, I can write cursive if I go slow. Priority to public interest, public is clear, man, isn't it? Now, yeah, I write too fast because when you will learn how to write the mains exam, you will also go fast. And when you go fast, you'll realize that that's the way you can complete the paper, because the game is not only knowing the content, it's also about completing the paper. So knowing the content, revising it multiple times to the point it becomes a part of your thought process, and then capability to write it in the stipulated time. So that's what you'll have to learn that. So, okay, that's great, Nirmala, that you also are writing along with me. So, the standards on the basis of which we can consider the professionals will be held accountable, will be held accountable, right? Again, with respect to this, when we are further moving ahead, we can also connect that how professionals are supposed to be, how professionals are supposed to approach a problem, how professionals are supposed to approach a problem. So when we are speaking of code of ethics, it can lead to a maximalist approach towards, we can say, governance, because it is open to multiple interpretation, right? So that is there. So COC, code of ethics, leads to maximalist approach towards governance, towards governance, and it takes into account the conscience of a civil servant. All right. Maximalist approach means it is open to subjective interpretation, as I had told you, open to subjective interpretation, what is right, what is wrong. So, yeah. All right. So, we can see that usually in developed states, in developed countries, like for example, we can say that developed countries, in developed countries, we can see that there is code of ethics. Why? Because you can leave the final interpretation to the people. Final interpretation is left for people, or we can say for the civil servants, because you trust that they will not be manipulating, they will not be using the discretion which goes against the public interest. Okay, so it is because you trust. See, today the beauty of writing is I can write through myself. Okay, isn't it that like amazing that I can write through myself? So with respect to this, you can think that you like that is knowledge pouring through. It's so funny to see, and yet I'm finding it not only amusing but also interesting. So the final interpretation is left for the people, because why? Because you actually trust. So when we are speaking of this given dimension, we can see that you trust the civil servant. You trust the civil servant that the person will use the discretion in defining larger public interest. So trust the civil servant to give, or to use, I should say, that would be a better word again, to use discretion in larger public interest, in larger public interest. All right. Every dark cloud has a silver lining. Oh yes, in my case it is a huge cloud. I block so much of space while writing, isn't it? If I'm visible. Today thankfully the head is only visible, so head is only blocking few words. So code is of ethics is like values. Yes, yes, it is like values because it is associated with values and principles. That's there. Can we write code of ethics are individualized, code of conduct generalized? um Code of ethics individualized will not be proper, they are generalized, we can say. They create an overview of what is right, what is wrong. And code of conduct is specific. It is specific, that what has to be done. You cannot manipulate, you cannot change. I will be making a chart. See, I'm giving you an overview associated with both, and then in a typical school like manner, I'll draw a chart: code of ethics, code of conduct, key points, and the key points will make sense because the explanation would be discussed. All right. So that's how you will be able to understand this given subsegment. So is it that people have this motive of being selected into IAS so that they can make a lot of money and go corrupt? Yes, I cannot deny. Sometimes that's there associated with it. Uh, my educational background, I have been a through and through humanities student, Abhinav, not a science student. I opted for humanities after standard 10th itself. I did not want, at that time I was a fool, I wanted to be a science student. It was my father who motivated. He said that you have a hardcore tendency for humanities, you can interpret very well, you don't have that temperament for studying science, your chemistry is like so bad. Honestly speaking, I was a pathetic student of chemistry. I was very good in biology, A grade, but chemistry was like D. So in ICSE board, we used to get grades. So it was my father. I was getting enough percentage, so I could have got science, but he was like, no, you don't deserve it. Because right now you will get the subject, but in standard 12th, you will make a bogus out of it. Because his friend's daughter, who was 2 years senior to me, she had devastated. So that was my first introduction to the world of humanities. I got introduced to sociology and political science, and they were beautiful subjects. Then I did my graduation from LSR, and after doing my graduation from LSR, I did my post graduation from Miranda House. And after that, I like started preparing for civil services exam. During that time, I also did masters in journalism and mass comm, because I thought let me do some professional course so that I never go out of context. And I was a good orator, a debater in my college, so I thought that maybe journalism and mass comm will be helpful. Then in our times we had two optional subjects. So Hindi literature was one of my optional subject, and I was not very satisfied with the material that was provided in coaching industry at that time related to Hindi literature. So I wanted expertise, because that is how I was. I was like, I need clarity and wholesome concept. And Hindi literature was very scoring. Like today, you can see Kannada literature is very scoring. You can see Maithili literature is very scoring. You can see Urdu literature is very scoring. Anyway, literature papers have been scoring. So with sociology, my core subject, I started preparing Hindi literature, and I did masters in Hindi literature also from Delhi University. Then after that, I did law also from Delhi University law faculty. So I kept studying. That's what, and probably that is what was my inner call, my aptitude associated with academics. Then I taught at universities. I've taught at University of Kashmir. I've taught at Jamia Hamdard University. I have been associated with this Department of India and South Asia Studies, which was associated with previously with ITM. And my brief stint at university, and simultaneously I have been teaching in this industry since 2010. It was October 2010. So that's what, if you want to know about this academic career which you were asking. So that's what. So like that's how the interdisciplinary understanding developed. When this paper ethics had come, I was shocked. I was like, oh my god, this is not one subject, this is like five subjects in totality. One needs to be an expert in so many disciplines simultaneously. So this paper was a challenge. I had taught this with one of the seniors in 2014 for the first time, when the batch 2013 the syllabus was introduced. So 14 I had taught it for the first time, and it was quite an interesting experience, learning so many things. Anyway, life has been very kind, and my seniors, my I would say guiding stars, have been very kind towards me, because I think I was meant for this. I won't have been very happy in civil services, because when I see my friends in the system and like getting traumatized and all the politics and all the garbage around, I'm like, oh god, I'm at least having good money, honest money, fully tax paid money. I can purchase maximum things I wish for, though I have minimalist needs. So life has been very kind and very gentle, and I'm overall, I would say I won't regret any day if I die, because every day is such a full, complete, wholesome day, and so beautiful. I'm through and through thankful to everyone who has been part of this journey. So if you're asking about this given dimension. Oh, you got a postgrad, Rahil, from Jamia Hamdard? I was working under Dr. Firdausi. He retired just last year. 2020 COVID, around COVID, he had retired. Sociology department. Okay. So, with respect to this, now, when we are discussing about this, um, so just have that interdisciplinary skill. If any teacher tries to claim this subject, it is mine. I would like to say ethics is all about philosophy, ethics is all about psychology, ethics is all about pub ad. No, it is combination of all. It is combination of five disciplines. So cultivate this subject inside you. It is something which is going to nourish your personality through and through. And trust me, in the process of teaching this subject, it has humbled me, and it has made me a better person, and most importantly, it leaves me every time introspecting, reflecting at deeper levels. So despite being a student of so many subjects in the past, uh, this is, I would say, this has had at a different level a very profound impact on my personality every single time, every single year, every single batch, because the questions that you people raise, sometimes those questions are like left raking. Like when the session started and you asked me to reflect upon the question associated with the Manipur incident, I was left like so sad and so lost for a brief while, that it was important for me to get integrated with what has to be taught today. Because such incidents, they rake the conscience of the nation, they rake the conscience of any person who is committed to the virtuousness of the society, anyone who is motivated by the humanist in tendency or patriotic tendency to serve the society, to serve humanity, will be like in jittery position. That's there. But then with a historical understanding of patterns of violence unfolding in this country and how it unfolds, you can map the larger picture. And after mapping the larger picture, like something worse had happened in Kandhamal. Kandhamal few years back, means almost a decade and a half back. What had happened in Kandhamal, Odisha, one of the most peaceful states, that had also raked the conscience of the country. So and then you try to understand the mob behavior, you try to understand the fundamentalist tendencies, then you try to understand the regimented patterns that get built in a country, and how to counter it, in how many ways to counter it. So anyway, see, I'm again revisiting it. That's the impact of such incidents. And because they are associated with the academic concern of the papers that we are dealing with, because if a case study is asked related to such an incident, that you are an officer and you come to know that few people are getting mob lynched in which a woman has been abused, so what will be the course of action that you would take and how? So if something like that is asked, in the systematic process you will have to discuss what are the issues in concern, and after issues in concern, what steps you would take, and why and how. You will have to keep explaining that. So that's why, considering these issues, reflecting upon these issues, okay, uh, when you are talking about this, you will be like left thinking, okay, that like what kind of solution needs to be offered, because you people are going to be the solutions of the society, hundreds of you impacting upon the society in different parts of India by your thought process. So this is not a mere lecture, this is like a pattern of socialization and transformation exercise which is going on, and one needs to understand the magnanimity of it. And that's why these questions are important when you raise, and these questions keep lurking on in the back of my mind for days together. And when I keep responding to the questions, it nourishes not only my lectures, but also the way I process what's happening around us, and in how many ways I can offer the solution. Okay, so that's what. And thank you for those questions coming from all of you people. That really makes a difference. So don't fear crimes, Ravani. Those, I remember danger, that quotation which I had given, that fear is a choice, danger is the reality. Because danger is the objective condition and fear is a choice. So I was 17 years old when I came to Delhi, and I was all by myself, initially in the hostel and later on like in the PG, and like that way is how like life continued when we are talking about it. So I mean, just think, I reach home at quarter to 10, 10 every day, leave home at 5, right? So don't be scared. When you become an officer, you'll have to handle so many people around you, men and women, and majorly men, and all these kinds of men also who are potential rapists also roaming around in the society. I mean, I remember in that topic of social issues, role of women, when I was discussing that, so in that topic I still remember, I gave this example which was associated with UP Bahraich during COVID, just before COVID rather, February, in the month of February, this issue had come up from few districts of this Uttar Pradesh, whereby like on pen drive, real life rapes were recorded, and they were being sold for 100 rupee. Regular like I would say videos were sold for 10 rupee, and those videos were sold for 100 rupee. Regular pornography 10 rupee, and that was sold for 100 rupee. Even in sociology we have this chapter of violence against women, so there also I quoted this example multiple places. Here also in ethics that example can be taken. So I was like, what is going wrong with the conscience of the society, that people are getting entertained by seeing someone getting victimized and someone shrieking and like helplessly shouting for help as the person is getting molested. Okay, so what is going wrong with that society which is able to shag or able to masturbate over seeing an image associated with such disturbing possibilities? What is wrong with the society? And these people are living with us, so are they not potential rapists? Because they have a tendency to get high by seeing someone crying helplessly. So and what is the society doing about them? Are they not living around us? Maybe can be our neighbors, can be our relatives. So who are these people? I mean, child pornography is at an all time high. Asian Age published a report that 20% of people who are in the flesh trade are children less than 12 years of age. Now, how come 20% of people who are in the flesh trade are less than 12 years of age? Means someone is a pedophile. So, pedophilia is high in the society, and pedophilia is also getting paid. Pedophilia means when you are sexually engaging with a child. So, what is going wrong with the society? What is wrong with the moral conscience of the society? That's what. And how we can create an impact, you and I, how we can make an impact together. All right. Flesh trade is prostitution, Sahil. But calling a child less than 12 years a prostitute will be unethical. Okay, that's why I use the term flesh trade, where a child is pushed into the flesh trade or prostitution. Okay, so so yes, so that's what you need to understand. Be aware, be alert, be awakened, and be guided by the right kind of choices. And think that as a citizen, as an officer, how your actions and presence makes a difference. That is something which ignites the inner fire of conscience for you. All right, because lectures is not only the facts that I teach, it is also the ideas and perceptions that we are able to ignite and generate. Okay, anyway, so moving ahead with code of ethics and code of conduct, as we are substantiating the components related to it, so a lot of examples can be consolidated. We can also consider the criticism associated with the code of ethics. So like with respect to the criticism, if I take up the criticism, so under the component of criticism of code of ethics, you can see that first and foremost they are very general. So one of you was talking about it, so I had said no, it's very general. Specific is code of conduct, that's why it cannot be violated. So they are very general, abstract, and difficult to enforce. Difficult to enforce. Then you can also connect it with they are subjective, and different individuals can have different interpretations related to it. So they are subjective, and different individuals can interpret it differently. Again, another problem is they don't offer immediate solutions, right? So they don't provide immediate solutions, especially in emergency condition, right? Especially in emergency conditions. Again, you can consider that they neglect social, cultural, and political contexts. Ayo, wait, and political contexts, right? For example, when we are talking about the component of equality, so like let's say in United Kingdom, when we are talking about this idea of equality, like with respect to the civil servants, can we consider the same idea of equality with respect to India? In UK, the issue will be more racial. The deviant patterns will be more racial in nature, and the civil servants will be sensitized to not enact upon any kind of racial discrimination. Whereas in India, when we are discussing about it, a civil servant will be sensitized not to act on the basis of gender discrimination, caste discrimination, religious discrimination, ethnic discrimination, regional discrimination, because India is like piping with diversity when we are discussing about that. So with respect to this, when we are further like reflecting upon this given dimension, we can understand this given component of like variety in interpretation. When we are discussing about it, we can connect it with secularism. So in secularism, we can again understand that the interpretation of the ethos related to secularism in France, right, in France, because it has also followed secularism for for centuries. So the interpretation of secularism in France will be very different from the secularism we interpret here in India, because we have had our own version of social cultural understanding of secularism pertaining to Sarva Dharma Sambhava or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, where we treat differences at a competent pattern, where we consider that the moral code of conduct of different individuals, despite the difference in the moral code of conduct, we need to treat them equally. That is what Sarva Dharma Sambhava implies. Okay, so that's why the principles, the ethos that are associated, the technical jargons which are associated, we all can see that it can differ. And it is because ethics is open to interpretation, because it is highly subjective, because it has a maximalist approach. All right. So that's something which we need to understand. And when we are talking about code of conduct, so code of conduct is too specific when you are understanding that, right? So code of conduct, if we discuss about it, just the reverse, and the reverse will have its own strengths, its own weaknesses. So code of conduct, we can see that it will be too specific, it will be not open to interpretation, not open to interpretation. I can give you an uh, not open to interpretation. I can give you an example, like in Mahabharata, we all can see Bhishma Pitamaha was there, and he could sense that before, the game of dice started, he could sense that the Kauravas are up to some game. They have decided something which is going to be unethical. So he was little alert. So before the game started, Bhishma Pitamaha, he announced two rules. He said that first, in the court, no royal women should be invited, and second, he said that no one should be physically coerced to play the game. This is code of conduct. If he would have, see, when he said that no royal woman should be dragged to the court or should not be invited to the court, now what happened? The Pandavas, they lost their wife in the game of dice, and as she was lost in the game, her objectification happened, and she was objectified as a slave. And enslavement of Draupadi led to reduction in her position from a royal woman to a commoner. And on that basis only, Dushasan, her brother-in-law, could drag her to the court and try to abuse her, try to exercise an unethical behavior towards her when we are discussing about it. Yeah. Again, you can think of this given possibility that the Pandavas were not physically coerced, but the maternal uncle of Duryodhan, that is Shakuni Mama, so that fellow coerced emotionally, manipulated emotionally Pandavas to stay in the game. So that emotional manipulation was something which led to all the loss, the years of exile, and all the punishment that unfolded thereafter. So we need to understand that code of conduct is too specific. How it would have been code of ethics if, Bhishma would have said that at no point no human being should be abused, whether man or woman, or whether belonging to any class, community, whatever. So here it gets open to subjectivity. So in that situation, Draupadi or any other person won't have been abused, irrespective of what the status is, what the class is. So that is code of ethics. If he would have said that no form of coercion or manipulation should be exercised to make a person continue his position in the game. So no form of manipulation or coercion. It becomes open ended. It becomes code of ethics. Then it would have been intervention would have been created, that the Pandavas are not forced to play the game, they are not manipulated to play the game. So code of ethics and code of conduct, I hope all of you are able to understand. Yes, Grishma, you can quote examples from Mahabharata. It is very popularly done across, we can say, universities, across professors, because Mahabharata, as I have shared this previously also, it is considered as a book of moral inquiry. Any person who's thorough with, I would say, ethics and values knows that Mahabharata is a book of moral inquiry. It is not a religious book, because all good things are not written, preachings are not given. At every step, some or the other disorder of the society is discussed, and then a moral inquiry, what should have been done. what should be there, what ought to be exercised. Okay, so that's why you can go ahead with this given dimension. Yeah, Oppenheimer had also quoted, so true. Oppenheimer had quoted from Gita, to be specific. Anyway, so if it is the story of Shaguni, the story is different, right? How can we conclude Mahabharata is the story of moral inquiry? Moral inquiry, because the idea of right and wrong differs. So that is why ethical relativism comes into existence. Kartikeyan, if you can recall. So we had discussed that in the very first chapter, remember? Ethical nihilism, ethical universalism, ethical relativism. So there are certain universal values which can never be compromised. But there can be relativism, there can be, we can say, interpretation of ethics from the perspective of person, place, and time. That's also there. That's the beauty. Yeah. So that's what we can consider. I read it, Devansh. I did. So it's just that we need to take up something else. Okay. So which religious book can we read? Presently, you can just read ethics. And in ethics, you can get exposed to different religious principles and values. Any good book will incorporate it as example. I've given you examples from it's like Quran Sharif, when I was talking about the idea of jihad, when I was talking about the idea of goodness, what are the levels of goodness. I've quoted from Mahabharata most exhaustively because it is a book of moral inquiry, as I said, right? In the similar manner, you have seen me quoting sometimes from Bible also, sometimes from Buddhism also, quoting the life of Buddha or certain aspects associated with the principles of Buddhism. So that's how you can consider that. So we are not getting into the component of, I would say, discussing Mahabharata right now, that how wrong things happen to different characters in that, we can say, epic. Okay, so we are not getting into that. All those people who are suddenly getting curious about incidents coming from Mahabharata, a lot of wrong things had happened. I mean, it's so wrong that a brother-in-law molests his sister-in-law. That is happening. Okay, there. So a lot of things, step by step by step, it, you'll see a lot of wrong things will be discussed, and then what right should have happened. Life of Bhishma is a byproduct of what his father decided. So you can just think, every character is talking about what happened and what ought to happen, which gives us an space for moral inquiry, that what are the ethos which come under struggle and how to keep them intact, how to preserve them, or how to stand for the ethical principles. Because those queries, those challenges are not unique to modern society. Those problems and challenges in a different level have existed even earlier, right? So, have I read Gita and Mahabharata? Not completely, I'll be honest, in bits and pieces. Thorough reading is something which my professor has done. And he was the person who gave me a comprehensive understanding of Mahabharata. But my own personal, we can say, intellectual journey with the books is yet to go. My grandpa had inspired me in standard 10th, after my 10th board, that read these books. He had it in his library. But somehow I was not motivated at that age to read. Neither I had the motivation nor the intellect to absorb and understand, because he had done that when he was 16, 17 years old. So he thought I'll also do that. But probably I was not capable of it at that time, or I was not motivated of it at that time. So that's there. Uh, is it critical analysis of human ethos? Yes, it is. That, because that's why I'm calling it a book on moral inquiry. Okay, so variation in interpretation, that's why I'm using the word moral inquiry, not ethical inquiry, and that's why a critical analysis. All right, now with respect to this, when we are discussing about it, I don't have one bookshelf, Vaibhav. Presently I have four, at like the place where I'm staying, and at my parents place I have two, and still it is less, because my professor, he had 14 and he has donated 6 to different libraries. So you, I mean, if you get introduced to the world of people who are into books, who are into learning, you feel so tiny, and then you feel that there's so much to learn, and there is so much of magic in learning, so much of beauty in learning. All right, so, with respect to this, when we are talking about it, we can just further move ahead with this given dimension of too much specificity and lack of specificity. So, we are now capable. So, with respect to this given dimension, under certain we can say code of ethics and code of conduct under certain brackets. So like let us consider that mm, difference between code of ethics and code of conduct when we are discussing about it. So code of ethics, where is the pen? Yellow, this. So with respect to this, first and foremost, you can talk about code of ethics. It is highly subjective, and this one we can say if it is highly subjective, then this is relatively objective. Relatively objective. You can also like connect it with, we can say it is descriptive, and this is prescriptive. You can see that this is associated with values and principles, and this one is associated with specific behavior. You can consider this one is difficult to enforce because it is open to interpretation. So difficult to enforce, and this is easy to enforce. Then you can consider that code of ethics, it doesn't take cultural considerations in regard. And code of ethics and code of conduct, when we say, they do take cultural considerations into regard. I hope my handwriting is working fine for all of you, because I'm writing big and trying to be as cursive as possible despite being fast. So code of ethics is relatively stable. Relatively stable. Okay. So because you can see that what was existing 100 years back, it is existing even today, and this one needs regular updation. Again, this one is associated with maximalist approach, and code of conduct is associated with minimalist approach, right? Because maximum level of subjectivity and interpretation, minimum level of subjectivity and interpretation. So I hope you can write 150 words answer also, because I've given the detailed explanation as well as the crisp explanation associated with it. All right. So we can consider all these given possibilities, and it becomes very tough. Even there are challenges pertaining to code of conduct as well. Okay. So when we are discussing about challenges associated with code of conduct, now giving you two segments. First, I'll give you challenges. Code of conduct, when we are discussing about the challenges, you can understand that it is almost impossible to predict every situation. So to have clarity of code of conduct will be tough. Okay. So almost, because we have not any kind of intervention in terms of civil services code of conduct. If something goes wrong at the level of robotics, artificial intelligence, information, think about it, right? So almost impossible to predict every possible situation that arises in future, right? We can also connect it with that code of conduct. They are often restrictive, often restrictive, right? So often restrictive, highly prescriptive. So that's also there. We can see they are generally designed. Oh, I'm thinking too fast, it seems. So they are generally designed to address only minimum or minimal form of ethical behavior. Address only minimal form of ethical behavior. So we can consider that they are like, we can say, very complex with subclauses and explanations. Subclauses and explanations. No, explanation will be simplifying it, no, exceptions. So subclauses and exceptions. We can also see that the use of legal language. So use of legal language makes them difficult to understand, makes them difficult to understand. You can also connect it with this given dimension that there are different codes at different levels, because at different levels different officers will need different code of conduct, right? So lower level, like the code of conduct will be different, at higher level code of conduct will be again different, and the more lower the level, the more distinct the code of conduct, the more higher the level, the more limited code of conduct, and thus with limited specificity there will be ambiguity how to go ahead with situations, then code of ethics will be guiding in that situation, right? So this is what you can consider. My friend argues with me that eating deers is not a crime as they live in forest. Okay, so this is illegal. Yes, exactly. Thank you, like SME. I was about to say the same. It is illegal under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So inform that to your friend that exotic lunches can sometimes invite a lot of legal action. So exotic lunches are fine till the time legal action is not invited. Otherwise, it will not be a fair situation to address. Okay. So when we are talking about this utility or importance of code of conduct, discuss the strengths. Okay. The strengths which are given over here. They are relatively objective, they guide specificity. Like, the criticism over here, because which you can see, criticism of COE is the strength of COC. Like it is written, it is very general, like code of ethics is too general, too abstract, difficult to enforce. So that is the utility or significance of code of conduct, that code of conduct are too specific, and thus it is easy to enforce. Reverse the second point, they are subjective and different individuals can interpret it differently. In code of conduct it is like we can say objective, hence everyone interprets and understands the same meaning at the same time. Again, you can see third point, they don't provide immediate solution, especially in emergency condition. Code of conduct, comma, if it is there, comma, then it will provide specificity to action in urgent situations. Okay, then they neglect social, cultural and political context, whereas code of conduct always considers the social, cultural and political contexts, right? So that's there. Exotic lunch as IFS. Okay, fine. So I hope you are understanding this, right? So here, with respect to this area, I'm just writing reverse the points of criticism of code of ethics. Reverse the points of code of ethics. The criticism of code of ethics. Okay, it shall be significance or importance. Okay, so this will be like utility, role, significance, or we can consider importance of code of conduct, right? This is what you can consider. So what you have written after the point only, where is only? Oh God, you could have at least said the point number. Now I have to hunt for the word only, 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 only. Where is only? That is what happens. Okay, only this uh, minimal form. Fine. Good that you asked. Okay, fine. COE is deontological. Agreed. Yes. What is the prosecutor, policeman? So, all right. So, SME just support me with the mild queries of students. Now, so importance of ethics. Okay, in public services, when we speak of it, we can connect it with the government of India has prepared the draft of public services. We can see Public Services Bill 2007, and that is also called the Second Administrative Reforms Commission, which provides ethical codes for public servants. So SARC's recommendation for public servants, you can see, so it is allegiance to the constitution. When allegiance to the constitution, so law, democracy, nationalism, sovereignty, integrity, all these values will simultaneously follow. Apolitical manner to serve. Apolitical is associated with non-partisan behavior, so that's there. So when non-partisan behavior is there, so objectivity, impartiality, honesty, equitable, diligence, all this will be there. Fair and just, right? Then again, integrity. So you can see a lot of reflection of civil services values is getting here. If you remember that chapter, you can like remember all these points. It's like kind of similar, right? So again, you can see establish high standards and quality service, accountable decision. So I think it's easy to deal with if you are going through it. So uphold highest ethical standards, merit in employment, promotion, placement, when we are speaking about this given subsegment. No discrimination on the basis of caste, community, religion, gender. Again, protecting the interest of the poor, underprivileged. Public monies. Monies is written. Monies is because there are different ways of finances or different pockets of finances which is invested. So, utmost economy and care. Economy means when you are being careful while spending. That is economy. Okay. So, economy does not mean only the discipline economy, the subject economy. Okay, handling with economy, handling with care, it means that you are not wasting, you are not splurging. Okay, you are being careful regarding spending. This is for all those students who don't know the meaning. Okay, so again, provide a workplace which is free from discrimination, workplace related, like value communication, consultation, cooperation, all that can be taken. Again, you can see reasonable opportunity to all eligible members to apply for public services employment. Okay, then comes some facts which I have given you. This is something which you have studied in economy. It is related to economy and polity. Economy paper 3 and polity paper 2. It's not something which you have not heard. So, utilization of public funds. So, first I have given an overview regarding the public funds and the three types of government accounts which are there, like Consolidated Fund of India, Contingency Fund, public accounts. Okay. Now, this is something very factual. So, because it is factual, there is no space or scope for analysis. I'm just showing the content to you. I've kept it in the slide so that you don't have that sense that, oh, it is not there or what to do about it. I've kept it in the notes also. In the notes also, you will find these topics being written. Here, I have just made bullet points to give you an overview about these segments. Okay. So, we can see first I have given regarding this Consolidated Fund of India, facts like related to like when it was like which article it is associated with. It is related to all tax revenues, non-tax revenues. Okay, loans that are raised by the government issuing public, like we can say notification, and treasury bills, that is internal debt, external debt related to foreign governments, international institutions. All of it comes under it. Comes under it means Consolidated Funds of India. All of it comes under it. It can be asked in prelims also. Consider the following aspects related to Consolidated Fund, or giving all these, consider the following facts related to Consolidated Funds of India, and giving you the details, and then how many of the following are true, only two, only three, all the four, only one, something like that. Okay, so you have to connect with this. Again, Contingency Fund of India. So you have the article, the corpus of the fund that can be raised from time to time. So advances from the fund, how the purposes are used for unforeseen like expenditure, and like it is associated with parliament authorizing the additional expenditure. It is more like an impress account for government of India, and it is held on the behalf of president by the secretary of government of India and ministry of finance and department of economic affairs, a basic fact related to it. Then you have public account, which is again associated with this article. Then transactions related to debt other than that, that is included. So other than that, which is not in consolidated fund of India, that is something which is kept under it. Transactions, the deposits, okay, the advances, all are a part of it when we speak of it, which incurs a liability to repay the money, which will be a part of it. Again, in public accounts, we can see receipts will also, like under public account, they do not constitute under normal receipts, and parliamentary authorization for payments is therefore not required. Okay, then a brief overview about budget. Now budget is in GS paper 3, also in economy, so you can just reflect upon this, a basic understanding of the facts. Okay, then how expenditure is done. Now what is important for you, this is important for you. Reasons for misuse or underutilization of funds. A short note question can also be asked, like a 10 marker, or why is, why various schemes or policies are schemes, especially not policies, because policies take a long time period. So why schemes are not properly implemented. Okay, or a case study whereby you are seeing that a scheme is not duly implemented, so then you can use this kind of wisdom which is given over here, associated with misuse or underutilization of funds. So in this given subsegment you can probably reflect upon like this, that most funds are released only at the end of financial year. So one of my friends who is a businessman and very well politically connected, just last year he was asking that, yeah, I'm connected to this government of Jharkhand also, so they want to release some fund related to education. Now you're associated with this component of education, can you give me ideas that how this money can be utilized for children, whereby in last moment we can show expenses. Definitely some money laundering is going to happen, but some good cause can also act, because at least 80% of the funds will be put in action, 20% will be laundered. So can you give suggestions? I was like, wow, slow claps for asking this question in the month of Jan end, and you are going to execute it in Feb, and in March everything is like the financial year is getting over. So you can sense that. Now funds are also not distributed in appropriate expenditure heads, and that's why you will not be able to see that sometimes some department will struggle with funds and some department will be flush with funds. So not creating sufficient headings, that's what it implies. Okay, again, internal audit system, you will see sometimes it is inadequate, and that also like is unable to stop the misuse. Again, we can say corruption is there, and due to corruption at centralized level, we all can see that it is diverted to areas where there is more scope of corruption and misuse. So more scope for corruption and misuse. Again, we can see expenditure is given more importance than outcome. Now this is according to me a very important point. Why? Because this is also the same point which Jawaharlal Nehru talks about in his Panchashil pertaining to tribals. If you recall the Panchashil of Jawaharlal Nehru, yes, March rush is also a problem, and Abhishek, that March rush is the first point. If you can see, March rush is the first point. Now, with respect to this last point, which you can see, this component that expenditure is given more importance, okay, than outcome. What does it imply? So, Jawaharlal Nehru, in his Panchashil, the last point that he gave in the 5 principles pertaining to tribal development, I always say that it is related to larger development, the wholesome or larger development of the society as well. So, in that, you can connect it with the expenditure is given more importance than outcome. So, this point you can substantiate from this given perspective, that. When we are reflecting upon the larger scenario or the larger possibility associated with this given dimension, we all can see that people when they are talking about development, they always talk like this, that so many 100 crores, 500 crores, 700 crore, 1200 crore was spent in this project. Well, that's not the way to measure development. The way to measure development is the impact generated on the ground level, the development experienced at ground level. And that is something which Jawaharlal Nehru had also said with respect to development of tribal population. Okay, so that's something which all of you can probably associate with. So expenditure is given more importance than outcome. All right. So I hope all of you are able to connect with this. Yeah. So we need to focus more on the outcome component. Now, implication for underutilization or misuse of fund means, implication means what is the impact, in simple language, what kind of impact it can generate. So poor quality of work, failure to achieve outcome, slower development, less availability of fund, corruption, loss of public trust, high rate of taxes. Yeah, so that's something which all of you can discuss. Again, how corruption comes to light, this point will be very helpful for all those students who have this challenge that, ma'am, when we read a case study and we are struggling that how a specific corrupt act can be blown. Suppose I'm seeing a specific act which is, like, let us say, which is a corrupt act. So in that situation, how the lid is blown off, I do not know how to go ahead with the answer. How corruption is exposed, I do not know the answer. These are the ways. Okay, the formal, we can say, the formal ways to blow the lid off, which has been taken up by the system at different departments or at different levels, which you can see. Yeah, whistleblower is the last option, Sahil. As I had shared this with all of you, that going to the media or whistleblower is like not trusting the system. You are going to be a part of the system. So you first need to know the methods related to the system. So you can go to CVC, state level, central level. You can think of the possibility of the Vigilance Commission, the role of it. Okay, whistleblower should not be the first priority, never ever. Media should not be the first priority, never ever, for a civil servant. Okay, do civil servants have right to vote? Hai? Masaya, why will a civil servant not have the right to vote? This right is granted to all except the person who is insolvent, right? So why will the person, what crime has the civil servant done that the person will not have the right to vote? The We can see that they do have the right to vote. They are just supposed to maintain an apolitical stance. They are not supposed to exercise their political choices in political biases. Political choice, the moment you vote and you become free of it. Do not attach to the vote. It should be there for common citizens also. The problem that nowadays people become advocates of different political parties, it is because after voting the attachment doesn't go. So even when wrong things are decided by the political party, they keep justifying it. Arey, why are you justifying it? The wrongs of one political party, what is the need for you to justify? So that's also there. Okay, you can understand that. So anyway, no problem, I can understand many of you are not exposed to these facts, and especially constantly listening that, oh, a civil servant should be dissociated from the politics of the day. So there can be a possibility that a person may think that, is a civil servant even voting? So that's fine. Basaya, which class are you in? What is your educational qualification? Are you pursuing graduation, or are you in first year graduation, something like that? Just generally curious. Okay, you are doing your graduation. Okay, all right, fine. Generally I asked because it was a very innocent question. Okay, so no, my picture is not stuck, Payal, and it is not stuck, it is stuck. Okay, stick, stuck. So past tense, no problem. Constantly we all are working on it. So how corruption comes to light, how we are bringing corruption to light, that is the segment. So complaints from the employees first. You can also see departmental inspection, stock verification, annual property return, you can do scrutiny of it. Irregularities, if they are detected by the the audit by CAG. You can see complaints and allegations that appear in press and social media. Specific information, you can also see intelligence collected by CBI or local police. The other sources can be telephone tapping. All these ways, how we come to know about corruption, that happens Okay. Again, you can think of irregularities that is caused by doubtful conduct. Doubtful conduct, which is like doubtful conduct where someone is like being corrupt and you are not trusting the individual, you're not trusting the possibility per se. So, with respect to this, SMA, please support Payal. I think she needs immediate support. Okay. So, with respect to this, when we are talking about irregularities like causing doubtful conduct, so with respect to this, any example of corruption that came in light, what brought it out? Yes, a lot of them. Every now and then you can see sometimes CAG brings it out, sometimes people complain, sometimes cases are registered in CVC, sometimes you can see it is coming under departmental verification. All these are the ways, okay? All these are the ways through which a lot of corruption cases have surfaced up. Yeah, Satyendra Dube's case, is an exception. That boy, Indian like engineering services, with respect to road construction and all the corruption that he noticed, he sent the complaint at cabinet level, and the thing is, it should not have got leaked from the PMO, but like it was an unfortunate situation that it the information just by one, we can say, careless mistake of an officer, it just got leaked, and that was used against this boy, and this is how he got killed. uh, every now and then such situations can happen, but remember, that's not a regular phenomena. Out of 100 officers, I would say, or 1,000 officers, it happens to one or two that life is taken away. Mostly, maximum they'll do is that maybe if your boss or if the seniors, if everyone is a coterie to corruption, maximum they will do is suspend you or transfer you. Mostly they prefer transfer because they don't want to see such a person. But remember, in the system, there are honest officers also. They also are looking for their own lobby. So if they find an honest officer, they keep the officer close to themselves to get the work done, because those people are efficient officers. They want to work in the system. So the kind of personality you will be, you'll find your boss. Okay, sooner or later you'll arrive in that coterie, the kind of personality that you develop. So you don't worry about what will happen, you just focus about the given possibility. Payal, we have discussed that towards the beginning of the session, so I won't take that distraction, all right? But I appreciate the concern, but that's what it has been discussed earlier. Now, so with respect to this, so irregularities causing doubtful conduct, whether it is willful negligence or reckless decision making or blatant violation of the system and procedure, or there is excessive discretion that is exercised by an officer, or we can say failure to keep the authorities or seniors informed, or disclosing any secret information. All this are also forms of corruption that a person can exercise in a given system. So, how the inquiry is conducted, I have given you certain points with respect to the procedure. And Santanam committee, please do remember this committee. Remember, yesterday also I had quoted this this Santanam committee. Can anyone recall in what reference I had quoted? I had first said Hota committee, then Santanam committee. I had also said Sehkaria committee. Let me see which student was revising and can recall it. Recommended CVC. No, no, no. That was not the thing. That was not the thing. So yes, I mean, it did recommend CVC, but the reason I said was something else. Tribal, state relationship, RTI, wow, wow. It was associated with Article 311, that even Santanam committee had criticized and requested for a repeal in Article 311, because that provides a lot of discretion to the civil servants and like longevity of their tenure by not keeping a check over the tenure creates the scope and space for corruption. So Santanam committee was also like discussed in that given situation. Yes, repeal of 311. So it was created in 62, as you can see. Lal Bahadur Shastri had appointed this committee for anti-corruption. It is also called Santanam Committee on Anti-Corruption. And this report was the basis for administrative and legal structures that were created to combat corruption in the system. And you can see the observations are very important for all of you. So most important is CVC, of course. In the, like, you can see that CVC officials and on the recommendations of the central government, the CVC was set up. You can also see that the preventive measures were associated, the suggestion of preventive measures to do away with corruption were associated with administrative, legal, social, economic, educative measures, means short term and long term measures. Both are required to do away with corruption. Okay. And corruption, it cannot be eliminated in totality, but yes, preventive measures can be taken to, like we can say, do away with it in majority of the situations. Okay. So with respect to this, when we are talking about it, we can further reflect upon like how corruption unfolds before all of us. There are various points which you can reflect upon, which have been enlisted over here. And after these points, the coercive and collusive corruption, the two types of corruption I have discussed. Coercive, when you force a person to become corrupt, like a poor person, and the person, like an aging woman, she needs pension, and you are saying that, okay, if you give me 500 rupees or 1500 rupees per month, then I'll sanction your pension. And she's like, okay. On one hand, she's not getting anything, so she's allowing corruption by signing on the papers, and out of 5000 she is getting, she's straight away giving 1500 rupees. So that is coercive corruption. Okay. Whereby the bribe giver is not giving out of will, the person is coerced. It is more like extortion happening to the victim. Okay. So you can see this collusive corruption here, they both are partners. Like, for example, we can see if a contract is sanctioned. So for, like, getting a contract that is getting sanctioned, so a person is giving money so that the contract is sanctioned in his favor or her favor. So such a person is a bribe giver, and such a person is also motivating corruption. So bribe giver is also held guilty, under Prevention of Corruption Act, except like two things. First, the person is able to raise the case of, like, bribery in within 7 days of the, like, bribery taking place, and second, is able to prove that it was a case of coercion, coercive corruption took place. So burden of proof definitely will be on the bribe giver, and that's also there. Again, if there is disproportionate property, in that case also the burden of proof will be on the government official. How come the person has more property than the person has earned via salary? Again, if the person is an accused person taking money, okay, the courts will be presuming that the bribe, okay, that it is bribe, unless the accused can prove it that it is not bribe. Like, suppose a person has got money from the in-laws, so the in-laws, suppose they have won lottery, and after that they are sharing some money with the daughter and son-in-law. In that situation, you'll have to prove from where the money has come, else definitely you will be held for corruption. Okay. Then what is the administrative structure of corruption? Certain facts are there related to CVC, constitution of CVC, some basic facts. You can see how appointment of CVC takes place. So just a quick reading, you'll understand basic facts. There is no struggle related to it. Again, functions of CVC, again basic facts. This will help you. If you know the functions of CVC, it will help you to understand, to solve a case study, that what would CVC do to solve a case. Okay. So just I'm writing one important. Okay. So this will help you to understand the procedure of solving a case. So just give a quick read to it. Then you can reflect upon this question, the question that has been asked over here. So please explain 7 days point 3. Rashmi, how is it possible, baby? 7 days point 3. Is it related to this what I was discussing? Okay, 7 days, yaad aa gaya. So like, Rashmi, if suppose you have given bribe, so within 7 days you can take the case and you can free yourself from getting victimized, because if tomorrow the corruption surfaces up, the bribe taker is not the only one who will be held, even you would be held for giving the bribe. So if you want to save yourself legally, that you are not a party to corruption, party to crime, report the case within 7 days of giving the bribe, and report the case within 7 days of giving bribe with proof. That's what it says. Got it? Now, with respect to this, see the question. This is the fact of the case, fact. And this is the challenge, the question. So whistleblower who reports corruption and illegal activities, wrongdoing and misconduct to the concerned authorities runs the risk of being exposed to grave danger, physical harm and victimization by vested interests, accused persons and his team, right? So this is something which all of us are aware of it, right? This is a basic fact known to all, right? Now the question is, what policy measures would you suggest to strengthen the protection mechanism to safeguard the whistleblower, right? So with respect to this, yes, second ARC report for whistleblower can be incorporated. So what you are supposed to do is, first and foremost, the approach of the answer, if I'm discussing it. So first and foremost, you should give in the introduction maybe some facts, if you know the facts related to whistleblower. So any facts which are startling, you can give that facts, okay? Or you can discuss the reasons behind threat. Reasons behind threat. Threat to whistleblower. That how the whistleblower, when is like, blowing the lid off a corrupt act, it is going to threaten the life, the profession, the career, okay, and the comfort, the safety, and the pattern of existence of any officer of any system. So that's how they have a tendency to chase the whistleblower, because it's going to cause a financial loss. It can also threaten the security, respect in the society, and we can say the potential of job of an individual. Okay, so first you can discuss the introduction, just one sentence, that why the person is threatened. Okay, so either you can give the facts or you can discuss the reason why. After this, you can give the main body. Main body is suggestion, because that's the question. What policy suggestions would you give to strengthen the mechanism? So body is suggestions to strengthen. Remember, we were also discussing about this Ranbaxy case, Dinesh Thakur case. Then also I said that that is going to give a lot of protection to whistleblowers, along with the possibility of making money. So you can think of that also. So you can consider that. So suggestions to strengthen, give that as the main body. Okay, this should be 80% of the answer. And then in conclusion, you can talk about the impact that can be generated. Okay, so probable impact, probable impact on the society, probable impact on the society by this change, or after the steps are taken. So probable impact on the society if the suggestions are implemented. If the suggestions are implemented. Dinesh Thakur case, Prithviraj. I had given the name Dinesh Thakur case. So if the suggestions are implemented. Yes, Ashok Khemka sir, but he is not a whistleblower, no? He is a bureaucrat who surfaced, or who uh, made the people aware of the corruption that was going on related to the land scam that was conducted by Mr. Vadra. Okay. Then we are going to start with work culture. Okay. So with respect to work culture, let us take a break. It is 7:03. Let us take a 15 minutes break and let us start. This is another interesting aspect we'll be reflecting upon. Okay, so that's it. One minute. I will be also discussing about case study. Case studies I told you, no? So towards the end, I'll show you like 2 case studies related to previous years. So you can just check that also. Welcome back, all of you. I hope all of you are keeping well. Everyone is connected, everyone is paying attention and reflecting. So, with respect to that, Sonam, when we are talking about AI, first we need to understand that generative AI, what kind of impact it can bestow upon a society. First, make notes related to that. The challenges associated with generative AI, recall those points. Then the challenges will be associated with like human well-being, how it is getting impacted. Then with respect to that, connect it with larger public good, connect it with potential threats, connect it with or like probable impacts, and that is how you can make a flow chart, a wholesome flow chart. Okay, that's how make a brain map sheet or a flow chart. Complaint to consumer helpline regarding a shop near my hostel charging extra money than MRP, but investigating officer revealed my identity to the shop owner. Now shop owner is refusing to sell goods to me. That's another challenge, that's another challenge. That nature of transparency, now you get behind the officer and ask that officer, because he must have been bribed actually, so you can just ask the officer that what is the due course of inquiry. Okay, so if you have the slips, you can show the slips, because that's how you can come up with solutions, or you can like get a video recorded with some friend who has gone to purchase things. So if you want to really pursue the case, that is how it is done, Ambesh. Now we are starting with work culture. Okay, with respect to this, what is work culture? So work culture, when we are discussing about it, it is, you can see that it is associated with the root word culture. What is culture when we discuss about it? So culture, what is culture? Let me first ask you people. What do you understand by culture? Yes, people. What is your perception associated with culture? Yes, everyone. What is your perception associated with culture? Set of beliefs and ideals, way of life. All right. Okay. All right. And something else? Our practices, sanskar. Okay. Shared belief, behavior, tradition, practices, habitual action that is performed, what we believe in way of life, that is which is going on for long, set of beliefs. Okay, daily activities, anything in daily activity, Shiva. So if you talk about daily activity, then how about habits? Is habits a part of culture, or can habits later be a part of culture? Huh. You cannot connect anything with daily life now. See, when we are talking about don't go with mohabbate dialogue now. When we are speaking of this given dimension associated with culture, always remember culture is associated with manifest aspects and latest aspects. So manifest culture and latent culture, or material culture and non-material culture. So culture is a wholesome possibility associated with, we can say, so culture is a wholesome possibility associated with, we can say, um, what is in and around us. Like we can consider the material aspect in the form of, we can say, food, clothing. It is in the form of like the different types of goods and gadgets that we are exposed to. It is associated with, we can consider books, the books that we have. We can also associate the culture in terms of material aspect related to coins, sculptures, architecture. All this is a part of material culture. Then comes which is also called manifest culture, manifestation of culture in material form, which also gets connected to civilization. That's culture. Then comes the second aspect, that is non material culture, which is implicit. It is associated with your ideologies, beliefs, insights. Okay, so ideologies, beliefs, insights. What can we connect it with when we are talking about the dimension of non material culture, like song, dance, drama? It can be oral tradition, different types of languages, diversity of language, right? We can also connect it with, when we are reflecting upon the component of culture, we can reflect it and we can associate it with the segment of, we can consider how our belief patterns are evolving, how it is ripening into different types of customs, later ripening into traditions. Also it is connected to different ways of religion or religious expressions, different types of cults, So all this will be under the canopy of culture when we are talking about non-material culture. So culture, material and non-material or manifest or latent aspects of culture. Okay. The wholesome expression of culture is to be understood like this. Imagine culture is there in your art and culture. Don't you study it like this? Then there is diversity of India in social issues. So in diversity of India, don't you have the topic of diversity of India having cultural diversity within it? Yeah, think about it. There is so much that you can create, people. There is so much that you can create. So, are you understanding that this topic is also important? Yeah, that is also referred Basaiya as tangible and intangible. Tangible is material, intangible is non-material culture. Yes. You can also connect it with essay topics. So please be very thorough when you get such questions to have a wholesome reflection associated with it. Shargun, use like a dictionary. This is not associated with what I'm discussing right now. And this, I'm not a Chalta Firta dictionary. Okay. So do some extra homework because any word you are flashing upon, I mean, it will be like little distracting. Others will also come up with such possibilities, or SME just help her with that. So when we are talking about this work culture, so work culture, it is associated with what? Then because the word work is there. So with respect to the word work, employees will be there. So it will be related to the study of beliefs, thought process and attitude of employee. It will be related to an organization, how people are interacting with each other, how much they trust each other. Keywords, you can see that. Rules, regulations, and procedures which are there within an organization. So it is associated with the ambience of the company, right? Ambience of the company. It is associated with the attitude. It is associated with, we can say, the stakeholders like customers, vendors, how the attitude towards them it is there. Okay. So you can consider the attitude towards other stakeholders. Okay. So when we are discussing about this dimension associated with work culture, we all can understand that in different countries there can be different work culture. Like for example, in US or in India, people are workaholics. They will work 6 days in a week, morning to night. I became a victim of it for 3 weeks and I was like, that is something unprecedented. But I had taken a lot of breaks. In May I had taken some 12 odd days. In June again I had taken 12 odd days break. So I barely work for 15, 18 days on an average till optional batch is not going on. Once optional comes into the context, then at least 20, 22 days, not 4, but 20, 22 days gets engaged. Anyway, so but what is the ideal idea of working? So you'll see in France they will prefer having 4 days work culture. You will see that in Ireland, suppose a person is traveling from India or US, will get surprised by seeing the work culture because people are so relaxed. So suppose you have moved to the country, they'll give you a 20-day paid leave or a 15-day paid leave, that you go and first settle your house. Because you have just moved to the country, you will have to adjust to the culture, food patterns, set up your house. How will you do that if you are working at office? And if you are stressed, like getting exposed to a new culture, setting up the household, and at the same time working in the office, it will take a toll over your health. It will take a toll over your performance. So they don't risk it. So for 15 days, they'll be like, this is a paid leave. We are paying you. Just go and chill, relax at home, fix things for yourself. That's their culture. But in India or US, the moment you move, the moment you reach, start working immediately, then and there, keep working. So that's the kind of work culture which you can see people are obsessed with. You go to Japan, in Japan, people are honest, upright, people of integrity, highly disciplined, highly punctual. So I remember that I had read once that in Japan, the bullet train got late once. It was a rare situation, just by 2 minutes. A paper ticket was issued, which was a proof that the train was late by 2 minutes so that it can be furnished in the office the reason why the person is late by 2 minutes. So that's like punctuality. That's like discipline. That's like having a total sense of commitment towards time. And because Japan after Second World War, it tried to revive its we can say economy, its culture. So people went like over the board to establish the country's economy. So in 1970s, 80s, a fierce kind of work culture developed. So 60s, 70s, 80s, you'll see that people worked till they were burnout. And today, after Japan has established itself as a developed country, despite the possibility of those breakthroughs, intellectual breakthroughs, technological breakthroughs, still the culture of working very hard is there. That's why on weekends there is a possibility that you will see that people are, like, getting back home after, like, completing their work at office, and they're just sleeping on the roads, like just leaning against the wall, falling asleep, leaning against, like we can say, a light post and falling asleep, and that is taken with too much of respect, because people know this person is not drunk or is not a drug addict. Okay, this person is experiencing from burnout due to work, and very regular, very thorough work during the weekdays. You can see that even in their work culture they have the provision of having a sleep room. So after having lunch, all the employees are expected to sleep on a yoga mat in the sleep room for 1 hour. It is considered that after 1 hour of sleep, they are back to their efficiency, they are back to their best version of performing at work as they were early in the morning. So to increase efficiency, there is a bigger break, a lunch break, that comprises of like having lunch and getting free from it and then sleeping for 1 hour. Okay, so that's something which you can connect with this given dimension. All right. So the word employee means civil servant? No, no, no. The word employee here is associated with any organization, any employee, private or public. All right, Anushka. Now, so when we are discussing about this given possibility, so with respect to this component, um, Payal, we have discussed the Manipur issue towards the beginning of the session. Bacha, you should have come up with, like, you should have joined the session then when the discussion was going on. I reflected quite exhaustively regarding what is the reason, how we need to witness, and what set of action ought to be taken. I had read what you had written. All right. Now, so we have to change the mindset of the people when we speak of it in general. That concept can be taken up. I will be briefly reflecting upon it. Thankfully, after these sessions, you also have social issues. So, after completing social issues, when you are like going to start with the session of essay, which I'll be taking on 31st or so onwards, so there will be 6 sessions of essay. There you will see that I'll bring this issue again up through a topic which is there. Okay, that was asked in 2020. So, you'll get a lot of food for thought and how to go ahead with philosophical essays specifically, because you have studied ethics, integrity, aptitude, so you learn a lot. Okay, we'll take that up, don't worry. So okay, no problem, no problem, Payal. You can revisit the session then. All right. So I hope all of you are able to connect with this idea of work culture. So work culture, when we are talking about it, what does work culture imply? We have discussed over here on the slide. As you can see, the core like definition is given here. The advantages of good work culture, so what will it create? So good work culture, the employees will enjoy working, they will try to give their best. As Karl Marx had said, that the prime purpose of working is associated with not getting a salary or any perks or financial benefits. Moreover, it is associated with getting creative satisfaction. If creative satisfaction is not there, dear children, remember, you cannot survive or sustain in an office. Or even if you are there, you cannot love the work, you'll suffer from Monday blues. So it is very important for a person to really be in love with their work, integrate with their work, like completely dedicated to their work, because that is something which is going to create first personal breakthrough for them, where they experience that creativity, that surge of learning, the capability to integrate with what's happening, and it is going to create, I would say, a relative level of meaningful impact, a meaningful change when we are discussing about what unfolds before all of us. Okay, and when I say what unfolds before all of us, it is associated with, we can consider, um, no, I won't be able to, Sahil, because I have committed for other segments as well, and I also need like rest. No, work culture applies on me also, so I deserve rest. So next week will be like all about taking rest and taking care of my optional subject, primarily few main students whose like test series is conducted, so a bit of discussion related to that. Next week I'll just relax. I've taken a lot of sessions in past 3 weeks, so I deserve that rest, and then I'll be back again for essay, so don't worry. and you will get the best of the best faculty over here. Everyone is bringing in as much justice as possible related to whatever they teach, and like all the components will be duly taken care of. And always remember, in the world of wisdom, every person ends up adding some beauty to it, right? Like for example, my professors, if the same topic I'm listening from one professor, another professor will add another aspect. So the beauty of learning is this, that you keep unfolding bit by bit. The more you listen, the more you observe, the more you explore. All right. Now, so here, with respect to advantages, when we are talking about it, you can see that when you enjoy the work, you give your best to the organization, so you achieve the goals, you improve profit, attrition rates they reduce, and employees they stick to their job. They don't quit upon their job. So a positive work environment gets created. So salient features of healthy work culture can be associated with people are by themselves, by their choice, like complying by the rules, complying by the regulations. It is not coercive, it is not something which is like imposed upon them. Is there any difference between work culture of developing or developed culture? I discussed it. Remember, Abhinav, I discussed it just few minutes back, that when you are working in Ireland or when you are working in France, how the societies may end up treating you. In French society, discussing about work on weekend, even if you meet your colleague or boss, is considered impolite. You're not supposed to talk about work when you meet them out of office. It is considered an impolite behavior. It's considered as if you're obsessed with work. It is also associated with, it is taken as like, you are a money mongering person, or you're too selfish, or you're too obsessed with one aspect of life. Hence, the aesthetic beauty in your life is missing. Aesthetic and cultural, we can say, nourishment in your life is missing. That's why you are only thinking or talking about work. Okay, so that is what French and Irish societies do. But in terms of American society, which is also a developed country, or Japanese society, which is also a developed country, the approach is different. So generalizing how all developed countries work will also not be correct. All right, Abhinav. Now, so will the government give us 15 days paid leave? No. Vivek, that's too innocent to think of, right? I was a professor at the college earlier, Vivek. I resigned after 2017 because balancing the act was getting tough. I wanted to be full throttle in this industry. Okay, now, with respect to this, when we are talking about it, salient features of healthy work culture, we can connect it with voluntary compliance of rules and procedures, which you can see, which is given over here. After, like, means you're by choice, like, following the rules and regulations. No one forces you to follow those rules and regulations. Again, there is mutual respect at workplace. You are, like, exercising mutual respect, where, like, all the employees, whether superior or inferior, are respecting each other. Anyway, do remember, when you get into the system, never ever try to, like, look down upon the staff which is working under you. Be nice to them, follow like a basic, I would say, a basic level of protocol, of niceties towards them, and that is something which will take you in a longer run. Okay, a good officer is the one who can balance the society, the junior staff, the colleagues, the seniors. Okay, the we can consider the politicians, all the five segments, and that is the person who can generate a healthy work culture to, we can say, survive, to exist per se. Okay, so that's why mutual respect is essential. It is very important. And everyone respects the seniors. If you respect the juniors, see the kind of respect they show you, and the kind of healthy work environment you create, the kind of happiness you generate in the environment, because it doesn't cost anything, but it creates a positivity in the environment with respect to the intervention you're causing with your psychological being, your existence per se. Again, with respect to this, it increases productivity, because everyone is, like, connected to the goal of the organization. There is objectively, like, an assessment of the performance, like what kind of performance is done, because there are objective goals, so you can achieve those targets and evaluate that accordingly. There can be appropriate rewards and punishment, which you can think of, which can also create a difference, right? So appropriate reward and punishment, can be connected with this given subsegment. Again, you can connect it with participation and discussion. So appropriate reward and punishment. If you're like fulfilling the goals, you are rewarded. So that is merit based society. Meritocracy is rewarded, and participation and and discussion brings a democratic space of existing and learning in the organization. When we speak of it, there is transparency related to information sharing, there is no manipulation, right? It is there is no discrimination, so no one is experiencing discrimination. So when transparency is there, right, there is everyone is sharing, like everything is known, so there is no, we can say, hindrance or hurdles related to acquiring information. Again, employee friendly, so people are treated with dignity like family members, right? There is personal attention that is extended, and lower rank employees can be fearless, and they can address their grievances even to the top layer or the top level officials when we speak of it. Now, before how to achieve a work culture, probably I can discuss that work culture depends on multiple factors. Okay, so these segments which you have given, like associated with like let's say the possibilities, the kind of impact that it can generate, all these points which you can see, salient features of healthy work culture. In this only, probably I can discuss factors which can be connected with the features. So factors for healthy work culture, I'll just incorporate here, factors for healthy work culture. So factors for healthy work culture, when we are discussing about it, you can reflect upon certain core subsegments. Okay, now as I was informed by the tech team that some form has been sent to your mail. Probably it is some feedback form. Please do fill it. It is associated with us. It helps us to improve and grow better, and it also keeps us motivated, because when you motivate us with the right words, that motivates us. When you give us suggestions, it gives us a space to reflect and improve our cognitive skills, like empathetically understand that at what level students are experiencing what things. Moreover, it is a subliminal process of, I would say, evolution in every individual skills. So it is an earnest request that please fill the form. It is I would say, a bridging possibility between you and us. Okay, so go ahead with that. And also, that is something which helps us to grow better every with every batch, where we are able to reflect that what shall be done to polish our skills, to make ourselves better. So all of us, whosoever are involved, like you can just be honest, and you can give in whatever helps you. Now, so with respect to this, oh, that's so sweet. So Nirmala is sending this message to all the friends who have joined the session. She is saying that it is the first year journey that she has completed today, and she wishes all the very best to all her friends. And God bless you, Nirmala. And yes, that's what. So, with respect to this given segment, oh, Shamali, just take it easy. Don't get overwhelmed by the wholesome target. Just take it easy, a day by day target. Start with smaller targets, be committed, fulfill it. Find easier ways to balance it. Use concepts like lullabies for your child. There are so many ways in which you can probably incorporate. I know it will need another level of devotion and dedication, but you can see Anu Kumari, the All India second rankie. um, it was quite tough for her also. She also had a 2-year-old child when she was finally giving the lap. So in her mains exam for 2.5 months, it was her mother who kept the baby. So I understand the challenges with a 1-year-old child, because the child will be demanding and you'll have to be all the time attentive. And but still, hats off with respect to being a mother and still committed for this kind of possibility. So my pleasure, Sravani. All right. Now, so as we are discussing about this given dimension, factors for healthy work culture, first and foremost, we can reflect upon this given dimension. So I hope everyone is back to attention and you are paying attention to what is being discussed. Okay. So the society and its values will also impact the work culture. impact the work culture. How? See, suppose the society is ridden by patriarchy. So if there is a woman boss, there is a possibility that a male may feel little offended when she scolds, or when she is giving an idea how to create a breakthrough, people are like, oh, she's acting extra smart. Vice versa also, like let us consider that if there is a work culture which is based on, like, let me change the condition. Like let us say a society which is ridden by caste based discrimination or religious discrimination. So at workplace, if such individuals like are working, there is a possibility of subtle discrimination, okay, or subtle remarks being passed. So it will not be healthy for people to work in such an environment. So the society also works, like for example, hierarchy is something which is respected too much in the society. So maybe in an informal event, there is a marriage ceremony, a birthday ceremony, and there can be a possibility that the officer is seated at the center table, all the juniors are seated next to him, and the junior most staff is not even eating before them. They are waiting for the seniors to eat and then they would eat. Whereas it is an informal gathering, a birthday or a marriage. So the hierarchy of, we can say, protocol of who eats first and who eats last need not be followed, but the environment of work culture carries forward even in an informal unofficial environment. So that's there because India is a hierarchical society which respects a lot of forms of stratification based on caste, like religion, region, class, gender. So all that can also be seen. All right. Again, when we are talking about, so if society is patriarchal, work culture of the office will become patriarchal. If society is hierarchical, work culture of office can become hierarchical. Then you can see, with respect to it, there can be, with respect to this, we can talk about, there is code of conduct. The code of conduct also informs the, like it also influences the protocol. The protocol in formal informal relationships, like how you are supposed to behave in formal situations. Okay, so the collective values, the traditions, the beliefs, the interactions of the people, the ideologies and principles of the people uh, shall be codified in the code of conduct, and the code of conduct determines that what rules, regulations, methods, do's, don'ts one shall follow at workplace. Third, you can also talk about, we can say, attitude of the employee. Attitude of the employee. Just few minutes back, I was discussing it, whether the person has democratic approach or authoritarian approach. So a person having authoritarian approach will not take the viewpoints of the juniors, will not regard the viewpoints of the juniors. So authoritarian versus, we can talk about the possibility of democratic. Right. So authoritarian approach versus democratic approach. So here we all can consider the given possibility associated with, uh, we can say, how an individual is surrounded by what kind of issues, situations, how the individual is living, processing the reality. Right. So a democratic approach will create a conducive workspace, like a space where everyone is participative, everyone is happy, everyone is, we can consider, able to at least raise their voice related to any concern pertaining to the department. Fourth, you can also talk about the technological exposure. If technological exposure is good, democratic behavior will be strengthened because everyone having the access to technology will know, there will be fluidity of information, clarity of information. So technological exposure. And if there is lack of technology, again hierarchy will prevail. Those who are holding the information will act superior. So technological exposure. The nature of economy will also impact the work culture. Nature of economy. So, like, let us say if the economy is capitalist in nature, so a capitalist economy will encourage competition and merit. So, competition and merit in the work culture. competition and merit at work culture. Whereas if the society is socialist economy, so a socialist economy will encourage, we can consider equality, and we can say equal distribution of, so equality, equal distribution of resources, right? So work culture will get influenced by all these possibilities. So what do we need? We need somewhere a middle path. A healthy work culture needs a middle path which is open to adapt and evolve with time. Okay, so rather than a strong work culture, we need a healthy work culture which is open to adapt and evolve with time as per the suitability of time, whereby quality is taken care of, the like health of the organization is taken care of. We can see the quality of interaction taking place in the organization is also something which, like, you can consider that can be taken care of. Yes, that's a very poignant question, in fact, Abhinav, that where is the smile of the government servant gone after the selection? That's like quite profound, I must say, because from where is that stone cold approach or that rigidity on the face coming up? Is it because of work pressure? Is it because of the nature of interaction that they are facing, suffering? Is it associated with a temperament that they are developing? Are they happy at the workplace? Are they pleasant? So a lot of things at personal level influences how you behave in professional space. All right. So high level of adaptability, so adaptability, flexibility, improves efficiency, sorry, improved लिख दिया, improves efficiency, um, effectiveness, effectiveness of work. Okay, improves effectiveness, efficiency of work, and leads to a healthy work culture. Healthy work culture. Because when we are talking about healthy work culture, adaptability, flexibility, rather than rigidity. You are open to change. You are open to amend. Okay. You are open to amend. If there is any issue, you are open to amend. All right. All right. So, with respect to this, that brings us to the component over here that we were discussing, how to achieve healthy work culture. So, I got this image. I found it interesting. I thought that all of you can connect with it. So, with respect to this image, you all can see that it is related to fostering relationships, social and emotional well being is connected to it, promoting healthy lifestyle. It is related to wholesome well being, physical well being, again quality of work life, where you are able to balance work and life. Okay, such a cute image, that fellow is able to balance work and life. So supporting work life balance, you can see coping the matters of mind, that is your mental well-being, and providing safe and conducive work environment, that is supportive workplace. So these are five segments which, like, in the core you can remember. You can substantiate it further with a lot of examples. Like, let us say if I'm talking about physical well-being, so physical well-being can be connected, like, let us say when you are opening something like yoga workshops. So yoga workshops, you can connect it with maybe opening gyms. So gyms at workplace, gyms rather than gyms, I should say gym. Mhm. Okay, gym at workplace. You can also, for physical well-being, you can provide healthy meals, healthy and free meals at workplace, right? With respect to social and emotional well-being, you can think of gender sensitization, gender sensitization, right? You can also think of like social and this well-being. When we are talking about it, you can talk about flexible working hours, freedom for working from home. Similarly, when we are talking about this mental well being, it can be associated with, we can say, like free counseling. So, you can have access to psychological counselors, so psychologists or psychiatrists, whatever is needed. So, free counseling. You can also talk about the possibility of mental well being associated with, creating a possibility of supporting any kind of, mentorship if needed. So, mentorship, in fact, is associated not only with mental well-being but also supportive work environment. So, supportive work environment, we all can connect it with, like, let us say, something like, you can consider employee interaction. So, employee interaction, it can happen with a lot of things like trips. You can think of financial pods are like, kitty party, like women have. So you are putting the money and once in a week you are partying. So financial pods, which also increases this possibility of interaction. Okay, with respect to this workplace, when we are talking about it, you can again connect it with other kind of practices. We can talk about transformational leadership. So transformational leadership. And what is transformational leadership? It is whereby your leader is providing, like himself or herself as a role model. There is also individual consideration if needed towards you. In with individual consideration, like APJ Abdul Kalam sir, when, his junior, he needed a break, so he went and he said that, sir, my child is constantly getting complaints from the school that I'm not paying attention and I didn't go for parents teachers meeting. So today is the, like, this cultural program, and if I don't go after the PTM, there is cultural program, so if I don't go it will backfire, so can you give me half day leave? So Kalam Sahab gave him the half day leave. Later on, after lunch, he came and he saw that he's immersed in some project. He kept looking at him for some time and he saw that he's totally immersed. Then he went, and then again he came back after half an hour. Again, he saw that he's soaked in work. Then he understood that what if he comes to a scientific breakthrough? I cannot break the rhythm. So Kalaham Sahab himself went to the child's PTM and after that, the cultural program. So in the evening, after the work was over, he suddenly realized that he had taken half day break and he had to go for the child's, like, cultural program after the PTM. So he rushed to the child's school, and to his surprise he saw his boss being over there, supporting him over there, speaking to the principal, speaking to, like, the teachers. So that is something which you can connect with. Laughing club, yes, you can also think of laughing club as well. Laughing club can also be organized for the, we can say, mental well-being or for the sake of entertainment. Okay, you can also talk about, अच्छा इसमें तीसरा भी है ना, so you can talk about intellectual stimulation. So you can provide intellectual stimulation, it can be in any form, documentaries or some workshop. Okay, some like, we can say, motivational talk. So anything, transformational leadership can be also there. There can be a democratic management style. So democratic management style. You can also think of like, work life balance, emotional intelligence, this is something there. Comprehensive ethical code, that is discussed already earlier. What else? You can also talk about one more thing which is also important, is improve the aesthetics. Improve the aesthetics. Like aesthetics here, I not only imply like having perfumed candles. Okay, by aesthetics, not only by ambience. Here I imply first and foremost basic things like clean toilets, access to clean toilets, it's so very important. Sometimes even basic things classical, yeah. So sometimes basic clean toilets are not there at workplaces, and people, like, they do not feel motivated. So that's also there, which you can incorporate. There are other things also, like if you see KPMG, Google, Apple, Microsoft, their offices are so swanky that a person will not feel like going back home, will feel like resting, and then staying there and eating, and again getting back from kitchen to work, and just just being there in the office, you feel more like being there. You can work being in the pool, you will have a office pet, so the dog is running, you can play with the dog. So there are so many ways in which you can engage yourself. Okay, so so that is interesting. Yeah, safe drinking water, yes, Rashmi, that's there. Disco be included, I don't know. Fully centralized AC, yes, that is a basic necessity. So I hope all of you can connect with this given dimension, how to achieve healthy work culture. Now, as all of you are understanding this given bit, we can probably also connect the segments pertaining to case studies. You'll see this case study, which the list of case studies that I have incorporated. So the list of case studies which are there, you can see 2013 onwards, the trend is what I have first created, and then the question answer. So you will realize that the chapter that rules the roost is civil services values. The absence of civil services values will be connected to ethical dilemmas. So, absence will lead to ethical dilemmas. So, what are the confusion? The confusion will be in the absence of those values. And another area that is ruling the roost is social issues. So, awareness of social issues and being thorough with, we can say, the civil services values is what is required. Yes, ethical dilemmas slash you can connect it with cognitive dissonance also. So, here, as we reflect, so cases when we are talking about it, so conscience, honesty, responsible disobedience. What is responsible disobedience? A very interesting term which you can see. Responsible disobedience is like, you can consider when you are ethical but illegal. So disobedience, you are not following the rule of law, but you are for the sake of being ethical, you are doing that. So that's how you can connect with it. Okay. Yes, it is an oxymoron again. Yeah. Civil disobedience. Yes, it is a responsible disobedience. Very good, Montu. Okay. So child labor, issues of gender sensitivity, objective decision making, fairness, that is civil services value, confidentiality. This is also associated with work culture. So that's there. 2014, you can again see dominance of social issues clubbed with ethical dilemma. 2015, again social issues clubbed with ethical conduct, ethical dilemma, values. 2016, again ethical dilemmas, you can see social issues. Again 2017, even though it was a unique year, I'll tell you how and why. Still, there is a dominance of ethical dilemmas, values, and one issue related to social issues. 2018, you can see senior citizens, alcoholism, social issues, ethical dilemma once again. 2019, similar situation. Like you can see, just politicization of bureaucracy is like when bureaucrats are not performing with impartiality, non-partisanship. So non-partisanship, if it is missing, politicization of bureaucracy will happen. So civil services values, you'll see it's like, ruling the roost. Again, um, you can see case studies. That's why I discussed case study immediately after teaching you civil services values, if you can recall that. That was the reason. Because somewhere it is majorly connected to most of the questions. Okay. So you can see this case study of 2020 again. After that, 2021, tribal issues, illegal sand mining, we did it. Remember the case of Sunil and the like mining mafia and tribal muscle men. You had done this specific dimension. What is in yellow? Social issues is written in yellow, Prashant. Okay. So mining mafia, all of you can recall that? Yes. Good. Very good. So professional ethics, ethical dilemma, healthcare resource management, again ethical dilemma in food industry, workplace harassment. And then you can see the case study themes. What are the popular themes which you can reflect upon? So themes are besides ethical dilemmas. Okay. Besides ethical dilemmas, or we can say civil services values, what actually can be studied further, what extra you can study further is weaker or vulnerable section. Topics like health education, gender this time I think can be important, artificial intelligence and technology, business ethics, professional ethics, right? So that is how you're supposed to like prepare the topics that you need to give priority. Now let us see this 2019 question. Now please remember there has been a specific trend like 2013, 14, 15, 16, and then 19, brief gap. So 19, 20, 21, 22. The pattern of asking questions is similar. Okay. The pattern of asking questions you will realize is quite similar. Means the questions are like this long, fat, huge, wholesome para. You have a lot of segments to reflect upon and to write. Okay. Yes, this question was in the weekly test, so that after the question is discussed, then when I'm discussing it, it makes more sense. Okay, so just see this. So you are heading the rescue operation. Now let's see what are the facts of the case and how we can adhere to it. So you are heading the rescue operation in an affected area by severe natural calamity. It is hit by severe natural calamity. Thousands of people are rendered homeless. Okay, and deprived of food, drinking water, other basic amenities. So thousands of people. Rescue operation has been disrupted by heavy rainfall. So disrupted rescue work. People are seething with anger because of delayed rescue work. Okay. Now, the interesting aspect is your team is reaching. The team is reaching, but definitely it's not welcomed. It is heckled because rescue work has not reached. So, even some people have assaulted. Now, interesting aspect, which is the most challenging area, is other than anger, is one of the people is severely injured. This severe injury in this crisis, it will blow up. So, the members will plead because you are the officer, you are the senior most, that sir, let us call off the operation because we are fearing threats. Okay, so they are ready to quit, they are trying to call off. So this is the challenge associated with this anger and severely injured. These are the facts of the case. Now what is the question? Question is simple. What will be your response? Remember, I gave you the similar question towards the beginning of today's session, that what if you get a question similar to the Manipur incident or similar to other fundamentalists incidents, regimented incidents that happen in India, that you are in that position, what will be the course of your action and why? Okay, and why? So that's also a way of asking the question. So examine the qualities of a public servant which will be required to manage the situation. Okay, so with respect to this given question, I have created the approach. So first, this is the case of like a case of crisis, like in crisis, what kind of leadership ought to be exercised. Mind it, this is the approach. This is not the answer. This is the approach. This is how to understand and interpret the question. So how to understand or slash interpret the question. All right. So if this huge type of question is coming, half an hour is going to read the question. Yes, sort of so true. 6 such questions, not one, 6. That's why, remember in the chapter of attitude, I discussed that when you're pushed to the corner, then your true attitude surfaces up. That's what UPSC is doing. When you're reading a huge question and you're running short of time, you're like constantly, oh, this. So what will surface up is the true personality, the real you, who you have evolved to become. So when you're like pressed in the corner and like a situation has been given that this is the pressing need, this is the pressing situation, how would you go ahead with this given situation? Your tendency to respond to the situation will be in consonance with how you are reflecting upon the entire scenario. Okay, so it demonstrates the case of leadership during crisis, and the situation demands leadership skills to find solution where there is a lack of cooperation from public. Okay, so it is like we can say leadership skills whereby you need cooperation of your teammates and the public. So you are also suffering from competing priorities. What is competing priorities? Different people want to do different things. and different issues need to be addressed simultaneously at the same time, and all are important. So they are competing, which one you are going to address, how and why. And not only they are competing priorities, which we can consider, all these three goals are interrelated. So they are interrelated, so they are posing challenge as well. So without stopping the manhandling of the team will not feel motivated. Without, like we can say, rescue being effective and visible, the anger of the victims will not get manageable. So everything is like interrelated, hence all the three needs to be addressed simultaneously. All right, now I will give you something, a piece of advice to all of you. This is a piece of advice to all the students who are listening to this question thoroughly. Whenever you get a question which is related to handling a mob, never ever try to directly speak to the mob. This is also a real life suggestion. Never try to directly speak to the mob. Suppose a mob is activated to commit violence related to, like, let us say, religion, related to ethnicity, related to caste, any mob which is activated and has become violent. One of the most effective solutions which I'll give you is that always try to identify a leader or few seniors, if not one, then few people who seem to be leaders, who seem to be assertive, who seem to be people whom others will listen to. Just call them and say that, how about, we make a peaceful talk. After listening to me, whatever you decide shall take place. So when everyone is listening that our leaders or our respected seniors are the ones whose opinion shall dominate, then people are ready to wait, they are ready to be patient, and then bring those seniors. Okay, and as now there are lesser people to handle, so you can always manage, because always remember, if you start talking to the mob is too random. Suppose five people are listening to you attentively and they want to adhere to the rules, regulations, or whatever you are suggesting. There can be two idiots who suddenly get infuriated. They're like, no, 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 we don't want to listen to you, and because of you. And there can be reasons also that people are infuriated. Maybe in this case only, suppose flash floods, or, like, let's say this question was actually picked because in 2018 Kerala floods happened. Okay, so towards the end 2018 Kerala floods happened, and a lot of relief work kept happening for 6 months, if you can recall. That's why in 2019 the question was asked, and that's why it was important for us to reflect upon the Manipuri girls issue. Okay, so, like, let us say floods have happened and someone has lost their child, or someone's mother has broken the leg, or someone's limb has got cut, and the person is crying and wants immediate help, medical attention. In that situation, you're talking about peace, you're talking, please maintain order, we'll address every single concern, help is not coming from the back. A person who's really angered, really triggered, may pick a brick and throw it in your side. You may get hurt. So you have to be very, smart, use emotional intelligence in terms of how to, address the situation, especially when your juniors are also motivated and people are highly triggered. You need to balance the energy. So the method is always try to, no, not talking with the youth, Akhil, because youth can have a lot of heat in it. Preferably people who are looking like little more seasoned, okay, little more we can say a senior, to whom people will listen to. Because suppose you are picking a youth of 20 or 25 years old, and someone 45 years old is triggered, and the person is senior also, and the person is not listening to the 25-year-old boy, that will become a problem. So the person, whether 25, 35, 45, but people are listening to the person. It's not primarily the age, but generally you will see that because India is a traditional society, deep down there is a sense of respect towards age. Even random strangers you call uncle. Uncle, please move. Uncle, please give this, right? So kaka, chacha, bhaiya, all these words are used in different parts of India, and this is nothing but indicative of our cultural ethos as well. So that is how I would be speaking, that identify who the leader is irrespective of age. Can be a combination, can be younger ones also, can be senior people, but generally you will see there will be dominance of senior people. So just invite them and like talk it out, talk the problem, talk the challenge out, and say that even we are at risk, our lives is at also risk. We have also left family members, we are together in this boat, this challenge has come, we have arrived here to bring about a change, and if we don't together try to surmount the situation, it will grow even worse. I know that wrong has happened, and I know that it should have been corrected, and I know that system went wrong, and I know that a lot of things have gone haywire which should not have been, and I own the moral guilt of the situation is bearing me down. But with folded hands, can I expect a level of leadership and also a level of assertiveness whereby you people are taking command of the situation and guiding us with respect to how things can be done? I will connect with the government departments and get the resources as per requirement. You are local, so you'll have some local wisdom, and I will support from the governmental side. So slowly and steadily, you are trying to bring things at parallel level, and slowly and steadily, you are trying to bring better communication. Okay. Then, when you are discussing about this given possibility, that this is how we can bring about the things, they are like, okay, you're like, let us collect first able-bodied youth who can help us in rescue operation. Let us call people from civil society, like NGOs, etc., community-based organization, youth groups, etc., so that they can also help in picking or grabbing or helping the younger ones, so that also can be connected with this given situation. Okay. And yeah, violence is not a solution for anything, Sahil, but using this sentence also, violence is not the solution, is a very rhetoric statement. Sometimes I always say this thing, that words, when overused, they lose their essence. शब्द जरूरत से ज्यादा इस्तेमाल हो जाए तो कपड़े और बर्तन की तरह अपना मुलम्मा छोड़ देते हैं. ठीक है, so don't, like, overused words, they don't impact us from within. So if you are saying that violence takes us nowhere, people are like this, okay, but the moment you say that even my family is at risk and I don't know whether I'll be able to go back home or not, but still I'm committed to bring about change, I'm committed to help, I'm committed to like work on this rescue operation, this will make a difference. So there is a way how you are going to communicate. That's why I'm beyond the way we are going to discuss the case study. Like, I'm going to give you the language, because soon the language will be discussed. Okay, so there is something Sri Devi called like patience. Okay, so beyond what you are going to do on ground level theoretically, which will be written in language, and I'll be showing it to you. This is application which I'm teaching you. Application will be trained to you, but these are some methods which you should learn and you should know beforehand, even before getting selected, that how things are handled with true leadership, because we never know who gets stuck in what situation, right? So with respect to this given like challenge, when we are talking about it, let us start with the language part. So I hope you are getting an idea. Now see how the details of the case is sorted. Here you can see, so it is the hope that administration is in work and can pacify the people. So what are the qualities that are needed? Because the question was leadership qualities. So what are the qualities which are needed to manage the situation? So first, presence of mind, because you need to have innovative solution to solve the problem, like what is the priority, what ought to be like reflected upon, what needs to looked into, etc., etc. So presence of mind, innovation. Again, you can see leadership qualities such as acting as a role model, instilling confidence, showing motivational capacity. All these segments can also be taken up. Okay, so acting as a role model, instilling confidence, motivational capacity, that's how you can enthuse your team. Most importantly, which I was talking about, dedication to public service, to gather all productive resources to solve the crisis. When you show dedication, it is like highest form of commitment. When you're ready to sacrifice it all, when you're ready to run that extra mile, that is what you are talking about. Again, you can see compassion towards victims, that is so important. Someone has lost life, someone has like is suffering, someone has broken a leg, there will be a lot of chaos, a lot of pain, a lot of helplessness. So anger is inevitable. Underneath anger, there is always a deep seated level of sorrow, or sorrow because hope did not meet the expectation. Remember, we had discussed it. Stoicism, can you recall? Yeah. So Just connect all the segments. Now, so you also need quality of emotional intelligence. So quality of emotional intelligence is something which will help you to not let anger deviate public frustration or deviate the energy of the public. You know how to handle, okay, you know how to handle the people, the frustrated victims. That is what I was training you, how you would talk. Okay, formally you will just write one sentence that with emotional intelligence I would exercise a level of communication which brings difference, which generates trust before the victims as well as my team. Something like that you can create. All right, then further, what will be the response to the situation? Now this is the second part, because there are two parts to the question. One, the leadership qualities needed. So 5 qualities you have enlisted coming from civil services values plus emotional intelligence. 5. Then you are discussing response to the situation. So response is first motivating the team to pursue the goals, because that's the top priority. And when people see that some action is happening to save and help them, the anger will not be there. Along with that, you need to understand that the team members should be motivated to put service before self, not to quit and run away, to put service before self. That's another value. And that can happen only when the team members are motivated by compassion, dedication to public service, and emotional intelligence. Another thing, the most sensitive aspect of any society that is suffering, the most sensitive aspect is securing women. People, they really get triggered if they are seeing, if women, parents and children are suffering. So if you are able to secure their lives, anger will just calm down. People will start cooperating. The youth, you can call them further, you can call NGOs. Moreover, don't try to manage everything by yourself. Try to decentralize work. Always try to outsource work. You manage everything, you handle everything, but try to outsource it to more number of people. It eases work, it speeds up work. Like, call CRPF, call special forces, seek their help as well in providing relief, maybe transporting the medicines, transporting the goods. Okay, so all that, think of all that. So securing women, elderly, children, okay, all these people. So that is something which will also create cooperation from people. Okay, again we can see that shifting the dislocated people to a temporary place to take advantage of economy of scale. What is economy of scale? Suppose you put people in a huge relief camp. So when you are putting people in a huge relief camp, you shall see that people will be motivated to when everyone is kept no, not army, navy, air force, all these don't come for relief, Femina. You need to understand internal security more thoroughly, which body creates what kind of importance. All right, so yes, Priyanka, I told you I'm wearing clothes of jadoo today, right? So that's why, as your question goes. Now, with respect to this, let us discuss on serious note. Yes, you can talk about NDRF, SDRF. Very good, Abhishek. So when we are talking about this given dimension, we all can think of the temporary service facility that can be taken up. So army came means they against they are yes, exactly, that's why I said CRPF. No, army is generally for securing your borders. It is for securing any kind of external aggression. For internal issues, it is always paramilitary. Okay, anyway, so when we are talking about this given dimension, advantage of economies of scale, suppose everyone is put in one camp, so distributing food will be easier, medicines will be easier, blankets will be easier, water bottles will be easier. So it's all because you can regulate things. If there are independent tents, it will be tough to manage resources, speed will get culled. That's why first you have to create a temporary service which is taking advantage of economies of scale. The term you should understand, you should also learn such expressions, build your language. All right, so that will be easy for you to administratively easy to manage people. Then after that, restore basic supplies like food, water, medicine, etc. Use the help of special forces. Again, contact superior authorities. See, for you it might be first time, but your seniors who are 15, 20 years senior to you, they have seen many such situations. They have dug a lot of ground. So it is always great, we can say, aspect of leadership when you're open to learn and that is when you are open to seek advice of seniors. So ask them that, sir, in your condition also this had happened, you also must have undergone such cases. What are the priorities you have taken? Though I have taken XYZ steps, but just in case I'm missing out on any step, I really look forward to your advice. Maybe some advice given by you can help me reflect upon where I am missing it out. Okay, so that is what you can take up. That is contacting superior authorities for seeking guidance. You can see I'm giving you informal explanation and formal language at the same time. When you see the formal language, you remember informal explanation, you remember the point. That's how you memorize. That's how you build your concepts, you build your insights, perspectives. Engage civil society. Civil society is like NGO, citizens group, community based organization, voluntary organization, youth based organization, all of it. Again, once emergency situation gets normalized, so this is was like immediate short term steps. Then talk about long term step. So restoration of long normal life, relocating people to their original places and undertaking reconstructions, that is very important, so that there is no frustration in the long run. There is no frustration over the time period. All right. So I hope you are understanding this bit. This is also getting clear to all of you. Right. Kindly suggest basic books as sociology option. Gaurav, mail me. Just send a mail to me. I'll respond over there. I'll share the sources with you. Now, so I hope all of you are understanding this. Now, in conclusion, discuss the civil services values that you upheld. Civil services values that were upheld. Okay, discuss about dedication, discuss about the possibility of working with the team. So teamwork is essential. Bring all of it together. All right. Yes, patience, yes, commitment. Dedication is highest form of commitment, Nirmala. So that's what. So that's how you are supposed to bring in the components if required. There's one more case study, Shweta. So don't thank me so soon. Be more tolerant and listen to one more question. All right. Now, so we started the session 5 minutes late, so I'll take five more minutes. All right. So we'll just go ahead with this. And thank you for the regard. Now, if you remember if you remember any thinker, if you remember any thinker or thinker's quotation, that too can be incorporated. That too can be incorporated. All right. So, this is how you write the conclusion of the case study. Simultaneously, you can see this. You are an honest and responsible civil servant. Now, why is this important? Because the year is 2017. The same year when the IPS officer was caught red handed cheating, and that is the same year when UPSC like came up with vengeance that okay, let me teach you a lesson. You people are cheating in the exam. I'll test all your skills in ethics paper. And 2017 is the paper when everyone was blasted off. Like 90% of the students who appeared for mains exam had less than 100 in their ethics paper. 90%. Imagine someone getting 84, someone getting 96, someone even getting 62, 57. Such marks also I've seen. Such numbers also I've seen. Anyway, students who were under 100, they were also struggling. 105, 107, 98, all that I had seen. Only a handful of students could make it above 120. That was like you could see 125, 128. I've said feedback form, I've informed. So, like 125, 128 is something that could be seen related to just a handful of students. Okay, when we are discussing about this given segment. So, with respect to this given dimension, when we are speaking of it, we all can reflect upon this given sub dimension that UPSC, it created this possibility because of two reasons. One, change in the nature and pattern of question, and second, probably the like UPSC had to bear the brunt that this boy who was selected as an IPS officer and caught red handed cheating, he had very good marks in ethics, which proved that probably with rote learning good marks can be achieved. which proved that probably with rote learning there can be a like effective level of change which can be noticed. Anyway, so what kind of impact was generated with this like boy? So you will be surprised to know that he was blocked for 5 years for not appearing for UPSC, and he had just 5 years left to like make his any other attempt. That means he was blocked forever to appear for the exam. But because he had something like 138 or something little above 140, he was not the topper, but he was amongst top 10. So UPSC created this nature of question, and a very severe form of marking. Now you can see, unlike case studies which were asked earlier, 2019 fat case study, remember that case of Sunil whereby he was fighting against sand mafia. So it was like 2 pages, 2 slides were devoted. It was like that huge. See the content here, teeny tiny small questions, and this becomes very tedious to respond. 250 words, divide it, so it will be like 60 to 65 words to be engaged for each question while responding to it, when you have not much space and scope to think when we are discussing about it. What happened to this past job of IPS officer? Nothing, Payal. He is an IPS officer. It's like you go into the service and you perform a corrupt act. So you are not kicked out of the job. Okay. When you are not you are penalized for the present corruption, not what you have behaved in the past, or when it is not proved. It was not proved that for getting selected as an IPS officer, he was taking any unethical means. There was no proof. The unethical means was exercised in present, so he was punished in present. And already he is selected. So an already selected officer's selection is not cancelled. Okay, so selection was intact. In fact, a lot of unethical practices does happen, and the system does take cognizance without taking the name of this officer. This fellow was a revenue services officer, and he was in a live-in relationship, and he cheated his partner after getting selected. He like said that we cannot get married, though he had promised for marriage, stayed with her for 2 or 3 years. And then what happened was that he had promised all that, and then after getting selected he felt that he'll just slip out of the situation like an eel. So the girl was also not a lesser one. She was very much pro, because preparing for civil services makes you pro with legal awareness, the interventions. So she had proofs, proper proofs associated with he promising to get married and then not abiding by that. So it qualifies under abuse, molestation, rape. Okay, when you are making false promises to get some sexual favor and all that. So anyway, so the case was filed, FIR was registered. She filed complaint to national this human rights commission, writing to women's commission, all of them. And finally you'll be surprised to know that guy's selection was cancelled. He was supposed to go for his training. Everything went haywire. He was arrested and put behind bars. So, if you think that action is not taken, it's not so. Okay, action is taken care of when we discuss about it. Okay, with respect to Jyoti Maurya case also, that will be associated with objectives of the case. The facts of the case will be observed, and accordingly it will be worked. Now, her personal life decision and her personal life choice cannot quantify into a legal case. The husband cannot say that, oh, my wife is cheating upon you. If she's cheating, it is a ground for seeking divorce, nothing more than that. It does not influence her professional life or official life. In professional life, if suppose she is charged with corruption and the charges are proved, she will be penalized for corruption. Okay, it will not be associated with her personal life choices. Please be very clear. Don't mix with the thing. What if girl left him? Yeah, that is also there. That also happens, Sahil. Both ways things are happening. It's not like something new that we are aware of. It is happening now for decades, isn't it? Globalization will make people too self-centric, too, I would say, oriented towards their own selfish interest, and that will lead to a lot of diversion. So you can see this question which is given over here. uh, Abhishek, it's all about maintaining balance. Okay, now here, so you are an honest and responsible civil servant, and you often observe the same. There are 4 segments. Pay attention to this. There is a general perception. Now, whatever common sense we have, common sense information about officers, that's written here. And you are asked to counter. The questions which you raise, oh my God, what if my parents are threatened? My wife is threatened because of my job. What should I do? They made the question. What will you do? What is the ethical conduct? What is the conduct that you will follow, the behavior that you will express? So, general perception that when you are having an ethical conduct, you will face difficulties. So, when you face difficulty for yourself, that's not a challenge. But when your family is experiencing the problem, then that is a problem, right? And if you are unfair, then you may reach the career goals. Okay. So, second statement, you can see the number of people adopting unfair means is large, and a small number of people, minority, have a penchant towards ethical means. It is making no difference. Again, sticking to ethical means is detrimental to larger development goals. Few people have this statement, no, they say this, that, oh, if you are too honest, no one will let you work. So, what is the benefit of becoming honest? These are common sense statements, which is put over here. So it is detrimental to larger development goals. You are not able to fulfill the targets, fulfill the development goals. So what is the use of becoming honest? That question is raised here again. While one may not involve oneself in large unethical practices, but giving and accepting small gifts makes the system more efficient. This is a popular belief. So, like, not a person is not going corrupt, the person is not unethical, but can the person continue to accept small gifts every once in a while? Is it because it is considered to bring efficiency to the system? What is your opinion? So, the merits and demerits. Discuss the statement or examine the statement with merits and demerits. Examine how far they are true or how far they are commonsensical. What will be your course of action? So, what I did was that I divided the question into four parts. And there is an interesting move which I am training all of you. Pay attention to that. When the question is discussing that if you are being unethical, then this is the merit, and if you are being ethical, then this is the demerit. If you are writing merit first and demerit next, it will create a negative psychological impact, because what you write last has an impact that subtly, subconsciously, the impact that is what you are favoring. So reverse the order, just change the order. Discuss the demerit first. Discuss the demerit associated with challenges associated with ethical conduct. If you are ethical, what are the challenges that will come? What are the demerits that shall happen? And then talk about merits. Because who you are, let that have a profound impact as it is discussed more exhaustively towards the end. So, merit. I have purposefully not stuck to 60-65 words because I wanted all of you to read the detail, pick out the keywords, and abbreviate yourself. Okay, because if I give in short, you will make it even shorter, or you will not be able to understand the explanation. So I did not go miserly in my language. I explained it in greater detail, and I expect you to read the greater detail and make a gist. But see the approach, notice the approach. So first the demerit, then the merit, right? Same approach I have followed here also. First I have discussed the demerit, and after that you will see I have discussed the merit. In third case also, first I have discussed the demerit, then the merit. Fourth also I have discussed the demerit and then the merit. And towards the end, this is the conclusion that I propose. Hence, it is essential to nip this menace in the bud. Bud, you understand? The little bud, a little, like, let's say, a pod of flower which is about to burst, which is about to bloom, that is a bud. That is the nascent stage. That is the basic stage. So, when you nip in the bud, you cut something in the nascent stage. Okay. So, it is essential to cut this menace, these problems, these ideas, these thoughts at the very basic stage, at the very preliminary stage. Okay. So, not accepting any form of gift indicates a strong moral and ethical character. Talk about the values that you stand for. Values you stand for. That's important. Remember, in the case study approach, also I discussed this. Always discuss the values that you stand for in conclusion. And then that will be also preserving the trust of the people in the long run. I hope you are getting the approach how to go ahead with the case studies. All right. So, as I'm wrapping up this given session, I would like to thank all of you for your, I would say, your patience, your sense of commitment, and constantly making an effort towards your growth and well being. I had said this to the morning batch also, and I'm sharing this with you. My grandpa always said that you can give to someone, a giver can provide something to the receiver only when the receiver is ready to receive. And the depth that the receiver will have in the process of receiving, that amount is what you can give. So it is you, the receiver, who should be given the credit, because it is your depth, it is your wisdom, it is your curiosity to learn, your alertness, which can bring about difference, which can bring about the possibility of what has unfolded in the lecture and whatever I could possibly create for all of you. So I would like thank all of you and congratulate all of you for this beautiful journey that you like facilitated for me, and I hope you enjoyed. And I was aware that initially there was a lot of insecurity and turbulence, that oh my god, I'm starting my journey with this discipline for which I don't have any academic background, nothing taught in school, nothing taught in college. What is this subject all about? What kind of topics are there? But I believe that in these 15 sessions I have been not only able to generate confidence in you and clarity of all the basic concepts, but along with that, my sole motive was to nurture you as a person. Because before becoming an IS officer, before becoming a civil servant, you are going to, each one of you is going to impact the society profoundly. So I really wanted to bring that transformational journey bit by bit in you, whereby you start thinking, you start connecting with what's happening around you. Why is it happening? You are the voters of this country, you are the decision makers of this country. How you think is going to bring about a change for the society. So it was important for me to trigger that possibility, and that the beautiful space and scope that this discipline provides to me as a teacher. So thank you for all of it, and I bless all of you, each one of you, that each one of you is able to achieve the coveted goal that you aspire for. The effort that you make towards your coveted goal is meaningful and wholesome. May God give you strength to achieve all that possibly you are supposed to create. And may God always provide strength to your virtuous goals, virtuous targets, which you really want to, create and nurture the society with. Okay, so and also your own self with, because first it is self and then the journey goes to the society. Okay, so God bless all of you. Stay positive, stay healthy, and give your best. And may everything in this nature, which is bountiful and which is associated with your growth, be blessed upon you. All right, so take care. Good night, all of you. And thank you, SME, for your continual support. Your support mattered a lot. It was very crucial and very integral to my performance. So thanks to all of you. Thanks. Good night. Take care.